CreepCast.
We found the parking lot near the Gila Cliff dwellings. As we unpacked our gear, we took a moment to bask in the beautiful sight that sat perched above us. It's hard to believe that someone could carve an entire town into the face of a cliff. 700 years ago, people managed to do just that. Given that the parking lot was empty except for us, we would find out why later, and I was in need of some social lubrication, we split a 6-pack of beer and took in the majesty. Here's a picture in case you're wondering what the area looked like. As we finished our beers, got everything prepared, and used the restrooms, Ian explained what path we would be taking in detail. What we didn't know, and what my brother had failed to tell us, was that the West Fork Trail had been closed all that summer due to flooding. To be honest, the path wasn't that dangerous. They had just opted not to clear it due to the recent floodings, so it would be a bit more of a rugged hike. While it wasn't perilous in itself, it did keep us from encountering other hikers, which would cause us a lot of problems when we actually needed help. Ian figured that we could make about 2 or 3 miles per hour, and we would be able to complete the Gila Loop, which was about 30 miles long, with enough time to get back on Sunday and be ready for our respective jobs on Monday, with no one any the wiser that we had backpacked a closed section of the national park. As his explanation was a bit heavy on names and locations, some of which I can't recall clearly, I'll opt to include a picture rather than spend a page writing out everything. For the sake of simplicity, this is the path we were planning to take. Picture's not loading on the website, but it just says a simple loop. So I imagine the plan they were supposed to take is just a simple loop.
It's just a picture of a fucking mountain with a red circle. I just like the idea. Like, all right, so the picture.
Well, I can't see the picture for some reason. It's not loading for me.
Okay.
So
okay,
I was.
Damn it. Also, I want to say too, just 2 to 3 miles an hour seem crazy. You'd have to be fucking hauling ass, right? 2 to 3 miles per hour.
If it's flat ground, that's fine.
They're like on a treadmill, you're going speed 12. All right, think about that.
No. That's speed 2 miles an hour.
No. I'm saying no. I'm saying if I was going 6 on the treadmill, that's an hour. It takes an hour to do 1 mile at speed 6, and that's like you're like jogging, you're like running. So I'm saying that these people in my mind are like
speed 6 on the treadmill is 6 miles an hour.
6 miles an hour. No. That should be it because I've done it. Oh wait, no, you're right. Never mind.
Okay.
You're right.
All right.
I'm thinking of a walking thing. Never mind. My bad. I fucked up.
Yeah. As long as you acknowledge that I'm correct and you're wrong, that's fine. We can move on.
Cut that.
No, don't cut it. Don't cut it. That's an important distinction. I just your acknowledgement that I was correct.
Hey, Harry,
do not cut that. No, do not cut that. Hey, do not cut that, Harry.
25 minutes. There's just a simple cut that I want the editor to make. If you could make that happen, thank you so much.
Absolutely not. I have no. Awesome,
I heard you say got the green light. Awesome.
I have.
In addition, I'll include a more detailed map of the entire area.
Okay.
Oh, my bad. I was doing your job. My bad. I was doing your job. My bad. I was doing your job.
Counterpoint, Harry. I have a gun. Okay. We're not cutting that. You said that.
I'm yawning because that's how bored I am. I'm yawning. I'm bored.
Okay. All right. So speed 2. They're walking 2 on a treadmill.
In addition, I'll include a more detailed map of the entire area so I can orient myself if you want to trace the trail we took. If you plan on following along with the... Oh, my bad. Sorry. I was doing your job again. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. See how easy it is. Go ahead. You're so good at it.
In addition... I'll include a more detailed map of the entire area so you can orient yourselves if you want to trace the trail we took. If you plan on following along with the path as I tell you about the experience. All I can say is, good luck. So even as I stare at it now, I feel just as lost now as I was then. I was just going along with the group and trying to keep a positive mind about everything. I wanted to try and do a better job of getting to know Ian and Jessica's friends. I think my circumstances have finally begun to set in. I've been living in a quiet apartment in New Mexico for over a year, and I had no friends because I was a turtle boy. I would go to work and then home without doing anything else except playing with cabbage and in my enclave.
See, there you go. You're adding your own interpretations to it, which is not the job of the narrator. That's not the job of the narrator. The narrator must be objective.
Sorry, I thought I read I think I got it mixed up with it. Okay, my bad. So, sometimes I would spend the entire weekend without saying a single word to anyone or seeing another person because I was on my back with my shell.
No, that's not.
That's not on there too.
That's not there. That's not there either.
I knew that if I didn't change something quick, that solitude would become the norm, and that frightened me.
Okay, so when you do your impression of me, it's gone from like a whimsical like choir leader to now just a clown, like a circus clown.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, you're like past any closeness of it. Your hate is getting in the way of your accuracy.
Can I actually try to do a legitimate impression of you? Because I have been working on it.
My consent in this doesn't matter, so. Well,
I won't do it if you don't want me to.
Go ahead.
Hey, guys. It's me. Isaiah. Oh, the Bible. Yay!
Is that... did you like that? I never noticed how much you sound like Gypsy Rose, which is just
what's funny is I thought you were being legitimate, and then the moment I heard what decibel you were in, like what scale you were at,
it's like Gypsy.
It was like, all right.
I'd be curious. I need to know if you murdered your mom. Is your mom still with us?
Yeah, she's still alive. On her.
I wonder if I can take that on face value though from a person like you. Maybe. Yeah, she's still alive on her.
That invitation you did just then was closer than your dedicated invitation.
Yeah, no, that's, to be fair, that was, I lampooned a little bit, but not very much.
A little bit, okay. I couldn't understand you. You were so high. It was audible to dogs.
Well, that's Discord's fault, and I have that issue with you all the time, so.
Our first day was relatively quiet. We spent a majority of the time taking in the sights, soaking in the sun, and breathing the fresh air. The hike felt light. We were constantly moving upward. As I was unaccustomed to hiking, I frequently fell behind, but I never completely lost sight of my brother's friends. While we took a break under the shade of a tree whose bark looked like dried scales from some long-dead alligator, I tried to make small talk with everyone. I fell into a quick conversation with Ian and Jessica about their work and what they had been up to lately. When it came time to talk to the other two, I only managed to get the conversation going for a few sentences before it shriveled up and died. So I wasn't really focused on the story when you were doing your impression of me. I was more focused on my rage. But that was just like, they're just hiking through New Mexico. Everything's fine at first. Nothing bad's happened yet.
Yeah, no. He's just basically saying if you wanted to follow, in the section I read, it was just him being like, here's a map. If you want to follow along, good luck. It's kind of a rough deal. I'm kind of a fucking social loser, and I'm trying to, like, you know, branch out.
Well, they said the trail was
shell.
Closed, right? And they weren't supposed to be on it. Yeah. I remembered assuring myself that it would be easier when we stopped for the night. We rested for a while before continuing our ascent up the mesa. This was where everyone realized how truly out of my element I was here. The path up the mesa was agonizing for me. It seemed to never stop climbing up, and there was almost no shade to keep the sun from beating down on us. I was sweating buckets, panting, and wheezing whenever they stopped to wait for me to catch up. I tried to pretend that I didn't notice their exasperated whispers or side glances, but it was easier said than done. They seemed like the outdoorsy type that had been doing this sort of thing for years. By the time our paths started to level out, I was ready to turn around and leave. It wasn't until we reached the top and looked out over everything that I realized how foolish of an idea that was. Even if I was able to convince Ian to give me the keys and let me walk back to the car and go home, I had no idea where I was going or what trail markers we had been using. I imagined splitting off from the group and tromping through poison ivy, bumbling into a gang of banjo-playing hill folk, or getting lost in the dark and wandering in circles until exhaustion and exposure took me. Even if I did manage to hike back to the parking lot, where was I going to go? Would I go back home to my empty apartment, eat a Hot Pocket, and feel sorry for myself again? I decided to tough it out and continue hiking. Also, by the way, the hillbilly hill folk would be Appalachia, by the way, not New Mexico. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just referring to Deliverance.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reference. And there are, like, what's the film about the New Mexico people? Oh, Hills Have Eyes. Like, sure. But the hillbilly, the banjo's our thing. So
the last thing you want to hear when you're like, Oh, wow, this trail like in the forest is kind of weird. Last thing you want to hear from behind you is,
You lost?
that's the last thing you want to hear on Earth.
There's been a few times where like I've been like on a river, like walking the bank or out hiking or something like that and come across someone's property and they do not like you being there. There was one time me and my buddies, we were four-wheeling and we drove up some road and we walked up to the top of the hill to get a view. And while we're standing there, we hear someone walk behind us and we turn around and there's a guy standing there with a rifle across his arms. He's not pointed at us. It's down at the ground. And we go, "Hey, sir, is this your property?" And he goes, "Uh-huh." And I go,
"Looks like it."
And I go, "Would you like us to get off your property?" And he goes, "Uh-huh." We just go, "All right." And just so walk straight the way we came. Yeah. Hey, Dave, he's an intellectual person. He thinks about everything. If you can't already tell, I was pretty dumb compared to him, but I stuck around because he always had interesting things to say. This conversation definitely counted as interesting. I won't bore you with the entire conversation that we had, but it lasted an hour where we discussed how to build structure into our lives. I want to emphasize here that boredom is dangerous. Well, it's not dangerous by itself, but it can quickly lead.
What does that mean? It's a way to build structure into my life. If I know that you're always trying to ruin my life and actually trying to make me fail, then I am driven to fight back and act on initiative. But how could I ruin your life? You could ruin it. You could ruin anyone's life if you gave it enough thought, planning, and action. God, David said with a smirk. Jesus Christ. Fucking kill me. I'm not going to crash out. I'm not going to give you any ideas. I just want you to try and ruin my life.
I remember sitting back and thinking about what he meant. The first thoughts came to my mind were about tripping him occasionally or hiding his toothbrush every time I went to his house. My young mind didn't fully understand how serious David was being. His mind was running 3 tracks above mine, so I didn't know what I was getting into when I said,
"Okay, I'll try to ruin your life, but I dare you to try and ruin my life as well."
He smiled with a newfound enthusiasm, and I smiled back.
This has to lead to gay sex. I mean, does it not? I mean, am I high? Am I high? I feel like if this doesn't. Go ahead. I'm having fun.
So this would be that would be the more normal response. Like just like
if you had a
someone being
prolapse,
like, why don't you ruin my life? Why don't you come over here and mess this all up?
What I'm saying is, would you consider ruining someone's life if you had a prolapsed asshole, like some red cabbage?
Okay, all right.
That would be ruining.
Oh my god! What did you say? What?
What red cabbage?
What are you doing? What is that?
Oh, come on, man!
Awful. My
little monkey brain popping out between your cheeks. Come on, man! Come on! We're all adults here. I'm just saying that I've seen many a prolapsed asshole, and I feel like that would ruin my life. have a little jellyfish pop out and kiss my Hanes underwear. I don't know if that would consider that ruining my life, but that would be a good start.
Oh gosh, that hurts. What did you? Okay, as soon as you said that, I threw the headphones off. I haven't heard anything you've said since.
I didn't.
I don't want to hear whatever you've said since.
All right,
just. Oh gosh, dude,
that would be a great way to start to ruin someone's life. You'd have to sit on a ring, like one of those little cushions.
Stop talking, please. I'm begging you. Okay. You literally like unlocked a repressed memory for me when you said that.
What?
None of
what
that
do you
happening
mean?
to me. Of something I read one time. Oh my gosh.
Sure, buddy. All right. I thought it was just a good way to reiterate start to ruin someone's life.
Can we go back to the story now?
Sure.
I had hoped it would be a great way to relive my boredom with life. David stood up and punched me in the leg as hard as he could. I shouted at him, mostly out of surprise. He just laughed.
The dare starts now!
He said, grabbing his shoes.
We are no longer friends. We are nemesis.
He opened my front door and looked over his shoulder.
Good luck. I hope you work half as hard as I will.
Once he left, I just sat there rubbing my sore thigh. Okay, I thought. If he wants a war, he'll get a war. That night, I had laid awake trying to think of ways to make his life harder for him. My ideas were all so childish and useless compared to what he would later throw at me. I'm too embarrassed to list my ideas from back then. I wish I could say I remembered the day David turned against me for real, but it was so subtle that I didn't notice right away. To my face, David acted completely normal. While we were at work, I would sprinkle popcorn over a section he had just cleaned up and point it out to him. He would just laugh and say,
Is that supposed to ruin my life?
Then he would clean it up. I expected him to do the same to me, but he didn't. His lack of visible retaliation made me bored again, so I stopped. Looking back, I suspect that behind my back he was sabotaging my image with our other coworkers and our boss. Out of the blue, my boss called me into his office and told me that I was fired because I wasn't doing a good enough job. David acted sorry I was leaving, and we promised to hang out again soon. I left thinking I could make this something good and get a real job. That dream died, and I ended up at a McDonald's instead. After I'd been at McDonald's for a month or so, my parents confronted me. They asked me if I had been stealing cash from their wallets. I'd never stolen a cent from them, and told them so. They backed off, but only for a week until my mom's debit card went missing. They confronted me again, this time very angry. They accused me of withdrawing several $100s using my mom's debit card. I have no siblings, so I wouldn't have been anyone else in the house. It turned into a screaming match, and they demanded that I move out as quickly as possible. With my small cash of savings, I found an apartment near the local community college that housed college students. The rent was affordable enough for me, so I moved out within the month. I moved in and became instant friends with two of my roommates, Clark and Ivan. Our other roommate, Isaac, kept to himself and stayed in his room playing video games 24/7. Life got good again because I hung out with Clark and Ivan frequently. David and I had stopped hanging out after I was fired from the movie theater. I hadn't forgotten about him, but I had forgotten about the dare. Every once in a while, I would message him on Facebook or shoot him a text to ask if he wanted to hang out, but my messages were always ignored. Eventually, I gave up. Within 6 months, I had a great life going. I was dating a girl named Katie. I had been promoted to crew trainer at McDonald's, which paid better, and my bank account was slowly growing. I only recognize this as David's doing when I look back, but an obscene amount of junk mail showed up with my name on it every single day. Magazines, credit card offers, vacation ads, and even physical letters from real people who claimed to be excited to be my new pen pal. I sorted through them every day trying to find some pattern. Clark and Ivan thought it was hilarious. When I came home late from work, they would sometimes toss the junk mail in the air like confetti as I walked through the door, cheering that the mail king was home. One day, I remember feeling sick of getting all this junk mail and deciding to sit down, call every subscription to cancel. I recruited Clark and Ivan to help me, and we sat down with snacks one afternoon and started to crank through phone calls. In a few days, the tide of junk mail subsided and we celebrated our efforts. That only lasted a week. The next week, it started coming back in full force. There was twice as much as before, and even some pornographic magazines in the mix.
Lucky.
Not only did my... What?
I said lucky. Sorry.
Okay. Not only did my physical junk mail increase, but my email became unnavigable through all the new spam messages. Google moved a lot of it to the spam filter, but there were still hundreds of emails that made it through. My email had been subscribed to websites I've never heard of. Clark and Ivan were blown away by the new tide of junk mail. The event was dubbed Return to the Junk and became a great icebreaker for Clark and Ivan to introduce me to other people at parties. One day, I was browsing Facebook's People You May Know section when I came across someone's profile that had my picture, but a different name. The account was open for anyone to view and had a lot of porn posts, status updates full of swearing, and praises to Hitler.
Here's my cock. These fucking brownies are awesome. Mein Fuhrer. Hey, that's not me.
Wait a minute.
Hold on
Now,
a
what's
second.
all of this then?
Oh, I don't like any of this. Also, I want, now that we have a second to talk about this, the dare seems really weird when you're not even hanging out with the guy anymore.
Now it's just like a stranger that you're.
Does that make or does that is there like a sense of consistency with that? If you're trying to ruin someone's life, would part of ruining someone's life is like cutting ties with all of his friends? So like in return of him not wanting to hang out with him, that's probably a part of him ruining his life, right?
So, okay. It's kind of hard for me to get on board right now because it seems so absurd for two people who were friends to all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'm a very, because it describes him in the beginning as being like a smart guy, an intellectual guy, stuff like that. It is hard for me to imagine someone who's actually good at things to be like, I'll dedicate my whole life towards torturing you for no reason, just because you said so, right? But I think what the story is going for is that this guy isn't, the guy who's torturing him isn't really a well-rounded, like, smart dude as much as he is, like, obsessive.
I think he's
like,
just fucking insane.
He's insane.
I mean, what other guy brings up the fact where he's like, God, I need more structure in my life? Like, what kind of fucking sane
like,
person
what are you
says
talking
that?
about? You have a job, yeah.
You might say that like once, and you're like, fuck, I feel like a rational person would be like, I feel like I need more structure. I'm not doing enough. But that would be like the kind of the extent of it versus some guy being like, no, I mean, like for real, like high school, like, and then like resorting it back to high school. What a fucking moron.
Yeah, it's like, what, you miss high school? What are you talking about? You have a job
Which, to
right
be
now.
fair,
Yeah.
the main or protagonist, Xander, he was already like, I'm pretty fucking stupid as it is. So he, if anything, the guy probably just knows like what an onomatopoeia is, and he's like, God damn, this dude's pretty smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that he's
like
just you made friends with a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, our protagonist is kind of like isn't that well-rounded, isn't the brightest, knife in the drawer, so to speak. And he just so happens to be friends with this super obsessive guy. I feel like, I mean, I don't really want to like critique it and like, oh, what I would have done. But I feel like if this wasn't his friend and was more so just a guy he kind of knew, like say it's in a friend group and there's kind of a weird guy who comes around parties. And then one night our main character drunkenly is like, oh yeah, well, I dare you to ruin my life. And like this guy who's like a social recluse takes it super seriously. I feel like maybe that would make it a bit more creepy or believable. But where it's his friend, I'm like, why are you
It's part
if
one.
I imagine this is like an obsessive guy, sure.
It's part one. I mean, it might branch out to like finding out more about their dynamic that might reveal more later.
Yeah. I may just be being too harsh right now. I'll give it a chance. Yeah. So, post number 1, September 7th, 2010. Okay, X. You'll never guess where this was originally posted. Okay, X, I need your help with this. This is not copy pasta. This is a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. This is video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and this is the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64 to play. I was stoked, to say the least. I could finally play all of those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. And while beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for a lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man.
What would you say this old man looks like? When he says that, what would you say? My mind immediately goes to a Vietnam War veteran. I don't know why.
I kind of go the other way a bit. I almost imagine he's too clean cut, you know, like glasses, trousers, you know, like very...
Oh, yeah. Hello. Well, this is my garage sale.
Kind of like he's like a character out of a show or something, you know? Like
Would you like to
too
browse my
manicured.
goods?
Yeah, I like that. Like his hair is like super thin.
Yeah.
You can see the top of his scalp.
Yep.
And he combs it over and he's just like,
Would you like to buy a lamp?
Yeah, that guy.
because that would creep me out. If I went to a garage sale and it was just one old man with a table and he's just like,
What do you think of this?
and it's like a butterfly collection. You're like, you're a fucking psychopath, you old freak.
I haven't seen my grandson in a long time.
You kind of look like him. You smell like
look-
him too.
Just like him, and you smell like lavender.
me touch you.
I want to caress your cheeks and pinch your cheek just like my grandson. He died in a drowning accident when he was 7 years old.
Why did you say drowning accident just then?
Ben drowned.
Okay, all right. I forgot that was the title of the story because
That's the title of the deal, Ben drowned.
I forgot that was the title of this story because this story does go to a drowning being related, and I was like, there is no way you just pulled that out of the air.
You had such a fucking Poindexter point there. You're just like,
How did you know that? Actually, how did you know that was gonna happen?
like the title says Ben drowned.
Oh, okay.
He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. And immediately I noticed that he must be blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, try not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. Glazed over is a wild way to say cataracts. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he would tell me he had no idea what a video game was, but to my surprise, he said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage.
I hate that. I hate when old people use the word jiffy.
Is that a reoccurring problem for you?
There's been many times with my grandpa. I'd go to see his friends. And he'd be like, "I'll be right back in a jiffy." That's what they say, and they scuttle off because old people are bugs. They're a waste of space. They deserve to die.
Kind of like how you feel about our fans.
No,
Exactly how you feel about our fans. Yep.
you know what? You
But you
what's
can
cute,
get money
dude, is
from
you
the fans. So
No,
maybe
no,
they
no.
serve
You
a
know
purpose.
what's cute is you think that these fans are going to turn against me when they know that Papa Meat is the real champion of the fans. I'm a man of the people, dude.
You think if we had a poll that was which one of the two CreepCast hosts cares about us more, you think you would win that?
No, I don't think I'd win because I think you're the more popular host for sure. But I think that in people's body and mind, they know. People know deep down, even if they won't admit it now. They're going to be 40 years old. There's going to be some CreepCast fan who's I don't know how old our fans are. Hopefully like 20. I don't know how old people are. Would sit there and when they're 40, they're like, you know what? Hunter really was the champion, wasn't he? And my fucking spirit's going to haunt him. And I'm going to say, yes.
That's a cute little fantasy you've constructed for yourself. I'm going to go
Thank
back
you.
to the story now.
Never ending story.
As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across his table were rather peculiar paintings, various artworks that looked like ink blots that a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. They weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason, it looked almost like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, Some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots, but given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I would have asked the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and I laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it in black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free. That used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird.
What?
What?
What a weird fucking thing. What do you mean, what? The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. What like your grandson? What does that mean? The child doesn't live here anymore?
He opened by saying he went to a weird neighborhood. So I assume he means the neighborhood.
That makes it even worse. That makes it so much.
An old boy used to come play this game in my basement.
Well, it doesn't mean that he. Okay, that means no. You're doing the thing.
Did he move?
You're doing the thing.
Did he move?
Look, I'm sorry.
No. He doesn't live here anymore.
I'm sorry about Baraska, okay? I know that you have this knee-jerk reaction whenever kids come into stories now because of all that. I get it. But just because you have an old man who's like, oh, well, I came across this cartridge. And yeah, it belonged to some kid who lived around here. I don't really need it. You can have it. It is not infeasible. Kid moves away. Parents start giving his stuff away. Old man buys like a trunk of clothes or whatever. Who knows what. And oh, look, there's a game cartridge in there.
I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh so hard, Isaiah. I'm going to rafflecopter, as the kids say. The day that you were like, hey, I can't record today because someone harvested my organs because you're so fucking naive. You're going to let someone come in and cut up all your gutty works and take it.
Yeah, sorry, I can't. Someone took my spleen,
Is what you're going to say. And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know. This guy was just following me, but it seemed normal.
That's you. That is such a cryptic message that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age who didn't live here anymore. What is that even? Did he live in the house? Then why just be like, hey, it's my grand? Because listen, you can do this in a different way where the guy's like, hey, my grandkid used to play games here, right? But no, this old creepy fuck is like,
There was the kid doesn't live anymore, but if you want it, you can have it. I don't know, I'm an old man.
doesn't make any sense, dude. Go ahead, keep reading. Go ahead. Let's see where it goes. No, I bet the old guy's fine. I bet he's a perfectly normal guy.
He could rationalize it in his mind. Our protagonist could rationalize the interaction as just like a weird way to phrase some kid that lived down the street. The next sentence, he says that he phrased it weirdly, but it's not the old man going, it's the kid I had in my basement. It's just like, oh, a kid lived around here. And that's enough nuance that your brain could be like, oh, that's a weird way to say it.
I love that the literal next sentence is there was something weird about the way the
Yes, clearly there's something weird about it, but that's not immediately like, I capture children.
Okay. All right.
Can I go back to the story?
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear what happens next.
There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimism inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying,
Goodbye, then.
At least, that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine. and there was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying, goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man. Obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. The whole idea too about being like goodbye, Ben, and then feeling like you like. Do you think that the person that's writing the story too? Do you think that he's saying like, oh, I probably took, like this old man was like, oh, of course this is yours because you were Ben, so now he feels like he stole it in a way.
Wait, what do you
know
mean
what I mean?
yours? Like it was the old man's?
Like because he thought he's like goodbye then, and he's like, oh, okay, sure, and he got the game cartridge for super cheap, right?
Yeah.
So he goes back and sees the goodbye Ben thing, or he sees the Ben, and he's like, oh, he said goodbye Ben. So now the guy, I'm wondering if our narrator is like, oh fuck, well I just like probably borderline stole this cartridge from this guy because he thought
there's
that it was,
also a level of like an old man, because he says a grandparent, right? He's like, oh, I assume this was his granddad. Like that's kind of sad. Maybe he just wanted rid of it, you know, and he passed it off to me. That was more symbolic for him than anything, you know.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, even him being senile. I mean, I don't know. So it's just like old brain rot type stuff.
Yeah, he has sympathy for him, I think.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file. Eyeballing it, I could tell that he was pretty far in the game. He had almost all of the masks and 3/4 remains of the bosses. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking that it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game, but he never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood.
You know, there's something kind of interesting too. You ever like go to a buddy's house, or you ever get buy a used game or something, or like a used memory card, and you see all the saved games, and there is like a weird kind of like, I guess not nostalgia, but there's something that's just like you're kind of taking over somebody else's life on that system. You know what I mean? You know how weird that is?
I remember being a kid and like we would go to, I think it was a GameStop or like one of those local GameStops, whatever.
Right.
And they were selling, it was like a basket of old PS2 memory cards that are used.
Yeah.
And I remember being man, that's there's something kind of haunting about that. Like it'd be cool theoretically to grab one and be like, oh, let's see what's on here, you know, but. Well,
you know what's weird is I always used to get freaked out because I don't know if people feel the same or if you feel the same, but whenever I did the same thing with like PS2 memory cards, and they'd have like a little basket, and it's like they're all just like a set price, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my whole thing was I always got hung up in the idea that like, oh, I'm gonna get some memory card of like a guy who was super shitty. Like a guy that I like there was a kid in my school who was such a dickhead about video games, and I was always like, every time I got a used memory card, I was always like, God, I hope it's not this guy's memory card. It was like some kind of weird ownership aspect. I don't know. It was such a weird thing, but I got hung up about it.
Man, I'm looking at pictures. I was like, how big was that memory card I have? I looked up the picture of the one I have, 8 megabytes. And it felt like it held so much, you know? Anyway. Yeah, the more I work here at Old King Creole's half-price voodoo shop, the more I start to question how the hell I never noticed it before. Now, I'm ready to admit I'm no Einstein when it comes to this town. Sure, I've lived here my whole life, but even then I'm still discovering new places. I didn't even know we had a Denny's near us until last week. But the fact that so many of our customers are high school kids makes me wonder, how come I never heard of this place before? Then I look back at my track record of socializing in school and remember, oh yeah, that's why I never learned of this place. I think the reason I have to clean up so many messes here is that a majority of our customers are indeed stupid high school kids. They barge in here thinking they got away around King Creole's game, and every single time I'm the poor idiot that has to clean up their stupid mess. It's to the point where anytime I see a teenager come into the shop, I instinctively reach behind the counter for some rubber gloves, because I know I'll have to wipe them off what's left of them off the floor and walls. I think the worst case of this was when a group of 4 kids walked in. They were seniors, and I'm pretty sure they were about to graduate. I came into the shop while I was busy actually getting to stock something for once. We just had someone come in and buy a decent amount of voodoo dolls, so I was finally able to stock them. Using my old stool, managed to just put them all in place when the bell rang and this group of kids came in. It was 3 girls and a guy who had his arm around the blonde girl. A couple, I assumed. The other 2 girls seemed to have just tagged along for this ill-fated journey to my place of employment. The guy looked over to me and shot me that head movement all of guys make to each other. You know the one.
Hey, guys.
I said, getting off my stool and heading to the counter, sitting on my rocking chair and making sure all my cleaning supplies were in view.
What can I do you for?
I asked, realizing I was picking up on some of Creole's fancy southern talk.
We heard there were wishes here. And since we're about to graduate, we figured why not try them out?
Guy said, letting his girlfriend go and going over to the shelf of voodoo dolls, getting in real close and looking at them. The girls, meanwhile, didn't wander too far from him, since they no doubt were afraid of all the cobwebs around. Fair enough.
Yep. Do all of you want one?
I asked, dreading the answer I expected. Guy and his girlfriend nodded, while only one of the girls, a black-haired girl in a blouse, responded as well with a nod. The last girl in her hoodie, though, just shook her head. Figured she just got dragged here.
Travis, my dear boy. Seem you've brought in quite a bit of customers.
Creole hummed, walking over to me from seemingly nowhere. He does that a lot. And smiling at the group of students, all of whom instantly backed up a couple of feet in shock at my boss's appearance.
Wow. Freaky costume, man.
Guy said, chuckling, trying to keep up a brave face in front of his girl, but I could tell he was seconds away from pissing himself. All the girls had the same expression.
What can I do you for, Jacob?
Boss man asked, looking at me. I was wondering why, until I realized my rocking chair was taking up space he needed to get to the counter. So I just easily backed up a bit and let him do his thing. Pulling out my phone, which had a dead battery, instead I decided to watch the inevitable horror that was about to come my way.
Man, you're freaky as fuck.
Jacob chuckled, clearing his throat and coming forward with as much moxie as he could muster.
Okay, I wish to get into my dream college. Full ride, so I don't have to pay for anything.
He declared, confidently crossing his arms at King Creole. I had to hand it to him. That was a pretty airtight wish. I couldn't think of really any way for Creole to mess with that wish. Well, until his girlfriend spoke up.
What the fuck, Jacob?
Girlfriend shouted, coming over to Jacob and pounding him with her fist over and over again.
You're trying to find a way to leave me, aren't you?
She shouted, grabbing him and thrashing him around. She seemed the clingy type.
No, you crazy bitch. I'm trying to secure my future.
He shouted, shoving her away and rolling his eyes as if this had been an ongoing issue. Me and Creole looked at each other and just shrugged. It wasn't our business to give these two couples therapy. Suddenly, the girl pushed past her boyfriend and up to the counter, slamming her fist down on the dusty countertop and staring up with wild eyes to King Creole.
I wish that Jacob will never leave my side.
What a great wish.
God, what is that like? God, I'm like, oh God,
What
here
an
we go.
awesome idea. Causing Jacob to come over and grab her, pulling her away from us.
Well,
The guy, King Creole's like, I don't even have to try for this
yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah. King began, bringing a hand up and starting to rub his chin.
My mama taught me that ladies should go first.
Smiled, shrugging and snapping his fingers, causing Jacob to stop in his tracks as he stopped thrashing around with his girlfriend. Looked at her with a new look in his eyes and started to kiss her.
Now that's more like it.
She giggled, wrapping her arms around him and making out in the shop. I rolled my eyes at this. Yes, I'm horribly single. Leave me alone. Although what happened next kind of helps me feel better about being single. She suddenly shouted in pain, trying to shove him off of her. For good reason, since he had gotten a thread and needle and was starting to stick it into both of their skins.
I need to be closer to you.
Shouted in a crazed tone, starting to pick up speed as she screamed louder, trying to get away from him. Well, that went about as well as I expected it to go. He managed to pin her to the floor as he started to sew the two of them together. Two other girls were screaming and cowering together as they watched the scene.
Since Jacob appears to be preoccupied,
Creole said with a chuckle, turning his attention to the two remaining girls.
would you ladies like to try your luck?
Said with a smile, his fingers drumming on the counter as he waited. The black-haired girl quickly looked at the hoodie girl and shoved her away, backing up from everything and looking back at the door.
I wish I could just live the rest of my life never seeing you again.
Oh my gosh.
here
Shouted,
you
backing
go.
up and getting to the door. Creole shrugged and nodded to her,
If that's what you wish for.
said, looking back at her and motioning forward to shoo with his hands. The girl nodded and turned, opening the door and running out at full speeds. Shame she didn't see that car that hit her seconds afterwards. I flinched at how sudden it just happened. Like, she was out of the shop and dead in a good 10 seconds. That's funny that that's a bit of a jerk move. It's like, I don't want to see you. It's like, all right, have you considered being dead?
Well, I just like the
Getting
idea of
hit
him
by
being like,
a
all right, cool.
semi-truck.
Well, I just like, he's like, cool, all right, well, I'll see you later. And then it just, of course, he's just not going to let her get away that easily.
Of course, yeah. The last girl remaining was screaming her head off as she saw the girl get hit by the car. Let's just say that Jacob and his girlfriend were closer than they were ever going to be. He and her were sewn together nice and tight and bleeding everywhere.
Please don't kill me.
Girl mumbled, collapsing to the floor and shivering, shaking her head and pulling her hoodie down, revealing some nice long red hair. Looking over at her, I did feel pretty bad. She seemed like the one who had been dragged here unwillingly by her friends.
Is that a wish, darling?
My boss asked, stepping away from the counter and over to the sewn up bodies wriggling on the floor. Looking over at her, she answered with a fast shake of her head.
Then, what's your wish?
He asked, poking at the sewn together couple with his finger, showing some amusement from it.
I don't want anything.
She mumbled, curling up into the fetal position, shaking violently and looking at me like I was going to come in and save her. Well, I get paid by this man, so I can't really offer much help.
Shame. If that's the case, then please leave my shop. I don't take kindly to loiters.
He hissed, the front door swinging open. The girl looked up quickly and then to the two of us, cautiously standing up and walking out of the shop, making sure to keep on the sidewalk as she started running away.
Want me to clean up, sir?
I asked Creel after an awkward silence. Looking over to me, he smiled and chuckled.
If you wouldn't mind, son.
He answered, looking at the sewn couple and then over to the basement door. I could tell from his face he was trying to figure out a way of getting them down there. I, meanwhile, was already getting the mop ready.
Need help moving them?
I asked him as I set the bucket down and started filling it with bleach and soap. A decent way to hide the blood, but if the cops ever shined that stuff that shows hidden blood splatters, this place would look like a cheap hotel room.
I might.
Tiss looking back over the basement with a sneer.
All right. Help me move them to the door and leave them there. I'll head down there and we can just roll them down it and I'll say it's all right.
Not having much of a choice since I offered to help, I helped him pick them up and carry them close to the door. The girl gurgling something incoherent at me, since her and Jacob's mouths had been sewn together. Assume it was a plea for help. Once they were down at the foot of the door, Creel unlocked it and opened it. I peeked from behind his shoulder to see if I could get a good look, but nothing but blackness stared back at me.
All right. Looks like we can just kick them down there.
Creel hummed, placing his dress shoe on the wriggling mass and shoving it down the stairs. The wet smacking and rolling were heard for a good solid 30 seconds. We waited, the door still open. Then we heard rapid crawling coming towards us. Before I could see the mysterious basement creature, Creel slammed the door closed and locked it tight.
Well,
I said after a decent amount of silence.
I'll start cleaning.
Backing away from Creel and heading back to mop and bucket, starting to wipe away all the evidence of our latest crime. When I looked back at the basement, King Creel was still standing there. He was looking at the basement with his usual anger, or wordlessly, just walking back over to his office. I let him go, continuing to do the part of the job I hated most. I was busy mopping, contemplating if I really should have gone into college. The door opened up and I heard the familiar words of,
Hands in the air.
I turned my hands quickly, my mop hitting the floor as I turned to look at who's holding me up this time. Turned out, it was a cop. Shit. My arm straightened up quicker when I saw it was a cop this time and not some idiot trying to rob us. Those thoughts of college were really starting to seem much more appealing.
Turn around and step away from the mop bucket.
He ordered me. I did as I was told, heading over to the back wall. The cop closed the distance and slammed me against the wall, slapping some cuffs on me and throwing me to the ground, putting his gun to my back.
Where's your boss?
He asked, grabbing my head up so I could answer him.
Office. Over there.
Motioned towards his office. With that, the officer let my head go, which slammed down into the wooden floor, giving me a good-sized bruise on my forehead. I rolled over to see what was going to happen. This was the first time I ever had a run-in with cops in this place before.
You! In there! Come out with your hands out!
The officer shouted, gun trained on the door and waiting for anyone to comply with that order. I, meanwhile, strained to try and see what was going to happen. When suddenly, my arms went limp and I was suddenly free of my cuffs. Pulling my hands out, I looked down to see the voodoo doll template holding the cuffs. Turns out that thing doesn't hate me that much after all. Opening the door, Creel stared at the gun in his face and then over to the officer. Stitched mouth and a smile as he looked at the man.
Rookie? Your sergeant should have told you you're not allowed in here.
Sighed, looking past him to look at me on the floor.
And assaulted my employee? Shame on you.
The voodoo man sighed, suddenly getting grabbed by the officer and tossed onto the floor quickly.
Keep your mouth shut, you fucker! What'd you do with that body?
He shouted, putting his foot on Creole's back. Felt afraid for the officer. Handling King Creole like that in his own shop would not end well. And end well it did not. The second his foot was put on King Creole's back, every single voodoo doll on the wall came to life, staring at the officer and jumping off their places on the wall, hissing and screeching at him as they all rushed towards him. The officer looked at the sound of the noise and let out a shout as he tried shooting them. He got 2 shots off before they swarmed him. The best way I can describe what they did to him was piranhas eating a cow in the Amazon. They swarmed over him and ripped chunks of flesh off his body.
Ugh, I can never stand rude idiots.
Creole hissed, angrily standing up and dusting himself off, walking over the rapidly disintegrating cop body and coming over to me, offering me a hand and pulling me back up.
Sorry you had to see that.
He said, dusting me off. His attention then turned towards the squad car waiting outside, his button eyes staring at the car, and he made his way over to the door, stepping outside the shop for the first time since I started working here. Looked over at what was left of the officer, bloody uniform and nothing else. In a split second, I wasn't paying attention. All the voodoo dolls had returned to the wall and now had some accessories with them. Some bones and skin pieces. My little template friend was back on the counter, still giving me the stink eye for probably not cleaning up. I was going to until a girl's scream caught my attention. Creole was dragging that redhead back into the shop. She was trying with all her might to keep from being dragged away.
Oh, no.
Her nails, she went and she snitched.
Yeah.
So. Her nails clawing at the wooden floor and spreading blood everywhere once her nails had been broken and destroyed. She cried and begged not to be heard as she was dragged towards the basement door.
This will show you to not misplace my good graces.
Creole shouted, grabbing her by the hair when she caught the side of the counter and gripped it with all her might. Dragging her by the hair, he got to the basement door, opening it, dragging the redhead down into the depths. Creole didn't need to tell me to shut the door behind him. I went back to cleaning the bloody mess that was left behind, stuffing the officer's uniform into the trash bag, and set that aside as I mopped up every piece of blood I could see. I've gotten surprisingly good at this. Something about that girl's demise, though, didn't sit right with me. Out of everything he's done to people, hers was the one that rubbed me the wrong way the most. Not like I can do anything about it. Cops are clearly out of the question. Looking over at the basement door, I sighed as I sat back in my rocking chair when all the cleaning was done. My eyes closing in exhaustion. I didn't get much time to rest, for Creole returned after nearly an hour and a half, blood on his suit and a pale face. Swallowed hard as he came over to me, staring at me with those blood-splattered button eyes.
Travis, my boy, you've been so very helpful these past few months that I think a raise is in order.
He smiled, his yellow teeth back to being sharp fangs.
How about 30 an hour?
He hummed, tilting his head at me, looked back at him with a bewildered look, quickly nodding without thinking. Smiled and rustled my messy brown hair and pulled out my pay for the week.
Take tomorrow off.
He ordered when I took my pay. Looked up at him and nodded quickly. No way in hell I was going to question him. Packing up, I unstuck my pin and took the officer's uniform in the trash bag and threw it away. Making my way home as I sighed hard, rubbing my face as I thought about that poor girl, being dragged into whatever the hell weighted her down in that basement.
We've had some unjustifiable deaths so far, or not unjustifiable, but we've had some where you're like, you know, a girl asked for acne, you don't deserve that. But I will say the one person who didn't like request anything, they're like the first person that was actually selfless, you know, like even went to the police and was like, hey, this happened to these people I know, these friends I have, a good Samaritan, and she just gets absolutely destroyed. But it is, I mean,
it's like, you know, they can't have police showing up, right? You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, or it seems like the police don't even know. Like, it seems like
it sounds like the police force does, because when he opens up, Mr. King Creole says, oh, rookie, your sergeant must not have told you.
Exactly.
Don't come in here. So it seems people who are familiar with the area know.
Really love the sewn together part of that. Like, I thought it was going to be that they just magically start fusing together or whatever, but I like the idea of like an obsessive guy basically pinning someone to the floor and just starts sewing their body together in like a horribly mutilated way. Pretty gruesome.
Yeah. And it's nice to have that massive garbage disposal thing in the basement you can just throw stuff into.
Yeah, exactly. All right, part 6.
Part 6.
Part 6.
Ever since the redhead incident, I was wary of going back to work. I've never really cared about the people who get what they ask for whenever they don't think a wish through. But she wasn't there for a wish. She didn't want anything. She was just there. Yeah, she brought a cop to the shop, but if I was her, I'd do the same thing. Whatever happened to her down in the basement, she didn't deserve it. My day off was spent mostly in my room sulking, just wrapped up in blankets and contemplating the many horrible things I had done for King Creole, when my mom came in, knocked on my door.
Travis, a couple of police officers are here looking for you. What the hell did you do?
She asked in a confused and scared tone at the same time. As far as I know, she thinks I'm selling crack for all the money that I'm getting. I swallowed as I tossed my blankets away and made my way past her and down to the lobby of our house. 2 officers were standing there and looking up at me.
Travis, can we please talk to you outside?
The older man said, brushing his graying hair back and placing his hat back on. I nodded wordlessly and looked back at my parents, who were staring at me from the kitchen as I was led outside into the cold autumn afternoon. Put my hands in my hoodie pocket and looked up at the officers, my face betraying that I was nervous as all hell.
Is this about King Creole?
I asked after a prolonged silence. My eyes widened when the officer nodded. I looked around quickly before the older one took his hat off again and looked at me dead in the eyes.
Tell him that we're sorry for the trouble that one of the rookies caused him. We didn't have time to radio him and tell him to wait for backup.
That's great.
It's fun. The man said in a quick, nervous tone. My jaw fell to the floor at just how desperately this cop was apologizing to me.
I can tell him tomorrow when I go back to work.
Offered the man, breathed a long, hard sigh of relief and nodded quickly, taking a notepad out and a pencil.
Tell him the agreement with the department still stands and that we're so terribly sorry about what happened.
Said, scribbling something on his notepad and ripping it out. Handing it to me, I looked down at the note, which was basically just what he had told me, but in written form. I guess in case King Creole didn't believe me.
Yeah, okay.
I nodded, putting the page in my hoodie pocket and shaking both of their hands. Then wordlessly, walking back into my house and walking past my parents, who bombarded me with questions. I didn't answer them. Just going back to my room and collapsing back on top of my bed, pulling the covers over myself and resigning myself to dealing with all this some other day. That's pretty cool that, like, again, his, like, kind of passiveness to it, where he's like, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. That, in spite of how major this is. Making my way to work the next day, I sighed as I entered the familiar dusty shop, walking over to the counter and sticking my needle back into the template, looking back at the basement door, which was eerily silent, shaking my head and reaching into my pocket, walked over to Creole's office and knocked 3 times, standing back a bit and waiting for the boss man. He didn't leave me waiting for too long, as he soon opened the door and smiled big and wide when he said it was me.
Travis, how was your day off? I missed you, my boy.
Chuckled, coming fully out of his office and giving me a hug, which I half-heartedly gave back.
It was fine, sir. The police came and told me to give you this.
Said, reaching into my pocket and handed him the handwritten note. Looked at it quizzically and took it from me, looking down with his button eyes and that smile on his face growing wide enough to strain the stitches on his mouth.
Oh, marvelous. I was beginning to think that they had forgotten about our little old me.
Chuckled, sticking the note into his suit and smiling.
I do apologize again for you being roughed up so badly as you were, Travis.
Tis putting a hand around me and leading me back to my counter.
It's fine, sir. It didn't hurt that badly.
I said, rubbing the bruise on my forehead a bit. Only stung if I touched it, really. Lucky for me, my hair is long enough that I can hide it behind my bangs. Pays to never get a haircut sometimes.
Good. I do enjoy your company in the shop. Even your little friend was missing you.
Chuckled, tapping the template doll on its head. Looked at it, and for once, it wasn't giving me a stink eye. Glad I'm not such an ass to it after all.
Keep up all the good work, son.
Creole said, giving me a firm pat on the back and leaving me to run the front end once again. Doing my usual ringing up at the odd customer, I was soon enough met with something that did make my day a little better. Olivia usually came back to the shop every Saturday with her new mother, so it's always a little ray of sunshine to see her so happy.
My doll broke.
Of course you remember the voice. She said with a sad little pout, holding up the doll of what used to be her mom and showing that the arm indeed came off.
Can Mr. King Creole fix it?
She asked sadly, like this was the absolute end of the world. I looked up at her new mother, who looked at me with this blank gaze. Well, I thought then it was blank. Now I think it was one of worry and pity. I didn't have to go get Creole when he threw open the door to his office and came over to Olivia, who ran to him and gave him a hug like he was her long-lost father. He smiled and giggled with her as he took the doll in her hand, leading him to her office.
Are you aware of what awaits you?
Olivia's new mother asked me out of the blue, her soft British accent in a low and whispering tone. Looked at her with a confused look.
What do you mean?
I asked, sitting up in my rocking chair and looking at the voodoo template, taking it off the counter and placing it on the floor, looking back at her for more information. She looked at the wall of voodoo dolls behind her and leaned in close to me.
He's using you. You need to get out of here before it's too late.
She said in a soft, begging tone, grabbing me by the hoodie strings and pulling me close.
Get away.
She begged, quickly letting go of me and doing a full 180 of emotions. Big happy smile on her face as Olivia came back with her doll all fixed up.
Be more careful with her, darling. She's fragile.
He instructed, giving Olivia a pat on her head and handing her back to her new mother. Olivia nodded up to the voodoo man and took her mother's hand as she was led out of the store. Mother looked back at me and a sad look came to her face. After they were gone, I turned to King Creole and mustered all the non-existent strength I had.
Sir, why did you hire me?
Quickly placed the template back on the counter, putting my hands on the dusty surface. Question seemingly caught him off guard as he looked at me like I'd spoken to him in an alien language. He stared at me with those button eyes for a good long time, long enough for me to grow uncomfortable. Same look he gave me when I asked him about the basement.
I just needed an extra hand.
Was all he said.
Oh, okay.
I nodded quickly, sinking away from his piercing gaze. It felt like every button eye was looking at me in the shop. It was a lifesaver when the front door opened and a customer walked in. Creole instantly turned into the usual happy self and happily granted the person's wish of curing their cancer. Shame about the heart attack they had right afterward. See, that's what I mean. He's playing the gambit too much. It's like, oh, you don't want to die? Well, you can't not want to die if you're dead.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he
All
is
right,
not.
buddy.
He is not a
buddy.
hero or anything.
Pal. Yeah.
He did one good thing. I mean, at that, he still murdered someone. But
he reminds me of like a mob boss, right?
you know what? Well, I was gonna say he. Who the fuck? Do you ever see Death Note?
Yeah.
He kind of reminds me of like the Shinigami in that, like the one that Light has.
Yeah.
It's kind of that
Yeah,
deal.
yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just kind of like, well, I don't interfere with anything, but then he's going to like, at the end of the day, he's like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Like, that's just the kind of vibe of it, you know?
Yeah, it's like any of those like criminal things where it's like, if I can help a kid on the street, I will. Oh, what's that? A family of 5 told the police. Well, looks like I have to kill him.
Yeah. He's not a good guy.
Yeah. As Creole took a hold of the dead body, he dragged it towards the basement and opened the door behind him. Grunting as he tried to get a better grip on the cadaver, I was about to offer help to him when a white arm jutted from the darkness of the open basement and wrapped around his neck.
Doc, you sneaky fucking whore!
Shouted, slipping off the first step of the basement and tumbling backwards into the darkness. I watched the whole thing in abject horror. The arm that grabbed my boss was one of porcelain. I could tell this because of all the shards of it falling off of it when the two of them went tumbling down. Yeah, okay, so that explains what the piece of porcelain is. She's like a porcelain woman.
Not only that, but the cracked eye too.
Yeah, it makes more sense. Standing up quickly, I looked down into the basement. An entire pile of porcelain shards waiting for me at the entrance of the door.
Sir,
Shouted down into the dark depths.
do you need any help?
This was my paycheck on the line, man. This was serious.
Do you think that could have been his ex-worker or something? Like he's using you? Do you think he's going to like use his soul, put it into some kind of doll or, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something that's setting up to like, maybe that was an ex-employee that he got bitter at or something. Who knows? Or like an ex-girlfriend even or something.
Could be. Also, I like how the doll earlier, like now that it's a mother out on their own, is like, you need to get away. Like, even though she supposedly was something he created, she's still like, you have to get out of here. Yeah. I didn't hear anything from him, and I looked down into the dark depths, swallowing the bile building in my throat, pulled my phone out and turned on the flashlight, clenched my fist as I took my first steps into the basement. Took me a whole 30 seconds to take my second step, just out of fear of whatever was going to come towards me in the darkness.
Sir?
Shouted into the darkness again. Taking a few more liberal steps before I froze again, I shone my flashlight deeply into the darkness and heard a fast scurry heading towards me.
Oh, fuck this!
Shouted quickly, turning and booking it upstairs. Managed to get up there and put my hands on the door, flashing still shining down into the dark. What met me was a woman, body made completely out of porcelain, crawling up the stairs at mock speeds towards me. She wore a dirty and tattered white dress, and she was missing one of her eyes. I didn't let her get far as I quickly slammed the door in her face and pushed my full weight up against the door.
Let me out!
She screamed, smashing her hands against the door. Cracking porcelain heard as she smashed and beat against the door.
Before he wakes up, please!
She screamed, confirming to me that she subdued my boss. Closed my eyes and just kept my full weight against the door as she kept on banging.
I can't! I have no choice!
Just keeping my eyes closed as she banged and pounded with futility. I didn't know who this creature was, and I didn't want to know. What was going to stop me from ending up like her? So I just kept against the door until she suddenly fell silent. I was about to take my chances and just stayed against the door till a familiar voice came from behind the door.
Open the door, Travis.
Came the haggard and tired voice of my boss. I cautiously looked at the door and backed away from it. The knob turning and the figure of my boss coming out and slamming the door shut, locking it with the key, pounding his fist into the door.
Are you okay, sir?
I asked him, backing up to give him space. He looked back at me, stitches to his mouth torn open as he covered it with his hand. Nodding to me, he pointed to something behind me. Looking, I saw the template was holding a spool of thread and a needle. Nodding to him, I walked over and gave it to him, lifted his hand up, and quickly started to sew up his mouth. Thick black liquid was dripping from his mouth as he sewed himself back up with expert precision, finishing it up in under 30 seconds flat.
I'm fine, son. She just got the drop on me.
Growled, tossing the spool back at me and working his lower jaw. He then turned his attention back to me and grabbed me by the throat, shoving me into the wall and giving me a firm squeeze of my throat.
I told you never to fucking go down there. I was worried about you.
Choked out, trying to pull him off me. Gagging and looking pleadingly at him, he gritted his teeth and dropped me, causing me to gag and choke for air as he walked away from me. Looked up as he walked away from me, silently going into his office and slamming the door close. Pulling myself up into my rocking chair, I breathed hard, just trying to get my bearing. It took a good hour for me to finally pull my phone out and shakily look at it. What could I possibly do? The police obviously wouldn't help me. If they came to me to apologize for them coming here, I had no one to answer anything for me. Except, looked back at the basement door and walked over to it, stepping over the still dead customer.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid of him. Do you know anything about him? Is there some way to stop him?
I asked into the keyhole, waited to see if the porcelain woman was still there. I waited there, about to give up when a soft voice came back to me.
Charles Sumner.
That's all she whispered, going silent again and not responding again. I nodded silent thanks to her, went to my counter. Pulling up my phone, started my research. Well, it turned out that the only thing... Okay, this is actually really cool. This is story development that like that is a woman he knew or whatever that's locked in the basement, and then it's like after he tried to help him and he pinned him against the wall choking him, he's like, I have to do something, but she gives him his real name. So now King Creole, like if he can learn the history of King Creole, if it's like some antebellum South like voodoo ritual went wrong, I'm gonna be all over this. This is
I mean, I hope that'd be sick. It also kind of seems like a, I don't know. My mind keeps going to like one, he hasn't killed him. He's broken two rules. If it was anybody else, I mean, you see even with the woman who called the cops or whatever, which have no authority over him, right? It's not like the cop could have done anything. He's fucked with King Creole twice or broken his rules twice. I almost think that he's using him as a host or a soul or something. You know what I mean? He needs that kid right now. He needs Travis.
Yeah, probably. Well, it turned out that the only thing I knew about Charles Sumner was the guy that got beat with a cane in the Senate before the Civil War. So I don't think the internet's going to help me there. Oh yeah, isn't that the guy who...
Kansas, Missouri guy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the guy got beat with a cane, and then the representative that did it, people would like toss him canes. It was like a huge meme. And that's also why Missouri and Kansas still hate each other. That's why there's a big rivalry.
Yeah, well, that's what led to like what was it called? The decision they made there'd be one slave state and one free state.
I can't remember. All I know is Missouri was on the wrong side of that.
But for just out of curiosity, which what would that be to you?
Missouri was on the wrong. They were pro-slave. All right, there. You want me to say it there? Yeah,
there you go. I'm just making sure for the record.
Could you imagine if I was like, I'm not going to say. I plead the fifth, as it were.
I just, we're each entitled to our own opinions. The Missouri Compromise. That was the name of it.
That's what it is.
That's right. I've always been blind, and that's fine by me. I'm glad I never got to see and then lose my sight. That would have been too depressing. Instead, I don't get to mourn something I've never had. I've lived in this Upper East Side flat for a really, really long time. As a writer, it's important for me to have my own space. I've been told my writing style is exquisite because I cannot see. I focus on the other senses, and my writing shines by stimulating them. I don't say a red apple. Red has no meaning for me. I say warm, firm, and sour. A bit sweet, fits in your hand, smells of grass at childhood. I'm not gonna lie. This flat was nice for a while, but really tiny. And I want to learn to play the piano. So naturally, since I've saved up a lot of money for my works, I bought this beautiful mansion in the suburbs. At least that's how my friends and family called it. I don't care. I can't see anyway. I just needed to feel the warm sunlight in the kitchen and the crisp air from my balcony. I drink my coffee in the morning and listen to the birds, and I work day and night. People thought it would be a problem if my house had an upper floor, because, according to them, even if I've lived my whole life blind, I cook, chop up things, take baths, and clean the house, I apparently can't climb some damn stairs. No problem for me. I counted the steps of my staircase. 14. Eventually, I got used to it, and I even started going up and down the stairs faster since I knew exactly how many steps I needed to climb. That's the thing when you're blind. Some movements become reflexes. Since you live alone, you learn how to position certain things and you always find them in the same place. One day, however, I was going down the stairs and I tripped. Where I expected the floor to be, there was this additional step. And I didn't think much of it, figured I must have not paid attention. I mean, yes, it was odd, because after 30 years of being blind, tripping wasn't really a common thing, but I don't look much into it. Haha, look. However, when I went up again, I tripped at the top. That was definitely unusual. Sure as it was, one extra step. I went back the stairs and counted. 15, counted again. 14.
The fuck?
Sure enough, 14 steps. Whatever, I went to sleep. A few days passed and I didn't trip anymore. I played it off as some error my tired mind made. Then one night, as I went downstairs to get a glass of water, I tripped again. This time, I really fell down on my foot. That was not a skip step. There were at least 2 additional steps. I felt around and stood up. My foot hurt a lot, but the ankle was good. I couldn't really stand up on it, but no serious damage. I went up, carefully, counting. 16.
What the fuck?
It's funny because there's no quotes. You're just coming in to say the obscenity.
Yes.
That's really fun. I like it. That's good. Keep it going. Sure, you mess up. You count 1 more or 1 less, but 2 more. The house was so still, so silent. No birds, no bees, no cars passing. Normal people fear the darkness. I fear the silence. I went down the stairs again, counting. By the time I reached the bottom, I counted 14 again. I went up again, 18. That was absolutely ridiculous. Was someone messing with me? How could they even mess with me like that? I've never heard of a burglar. I've never heard of a burglar to break into someone's house and add steps to their stairs. Still, I went to check to see if I locked the door. I can make my way around pretty neat, through the kitchen, then into the hallway. And then I bumped into something. I froze. My organs tensed up, my hair stood up, all ears. I never felt so much fear in my life. Decided to go on and check the door. Yeah, locked. I made my way back upstairs. This time I didn't bump into anything or anyone. 18.
For fuck's sakes.
All night, all I did was go up and down like a lunatic. Each time I got different results. Back upstairs, I decided to go down and make one final count. 14. Okay, it's probably going to be more. 15. Nope, still going. 17. 19. 21. That's a record. 27. 33. That could not be possible. 52. 88. I could absolutely feel the sense of impending doom. Something was there with me, and it was vile, disgusting, and unnatural, and this staircase was never ending. 102. I finally gave up. Whatever this was, I didn't want to reach the bottom. I went back up. The moment I turned my back to go up, I tried to be brave, but something got over me and I ran on all fours, desperate to reach the top, desperate to run back to my bedroom. I don't remember how I got inside and locked my door, but I did. And now I'm sitting here and typing. This house is strange. It's eerie and disturbing. And I think if I'd gotten to the bottom of the staircase, I would have left this world. I don't think that was my house anymore. However, no matter what stupid, cryptic, eerie, unnatural staircase I unveiled, it is important not only that I don't go down there, but then nothing comes up here either. And right now, I can hear it creaking.
End of part 1.
So
That's awesome.
That's the end of part 1. That was sick. Okay, so we don't really talk about this a lot because we're kind of like, we operate under the impression of like, well, this is a horror story that's submitted to no sleep. And then the author has to act like they're really there or whatever, right? But this is one of the only stories we've read where it because of its length and the way it's written, it actually kind of feels like the tone of someone who is in this situation.
Yeah. Well, I think I just think that there's not a lot of fat around to it. Like, I mean,
exactly, yeah.
It's just so to the point. The use of numbers, and I think the idea too, what really elevates this is you could do this as well and have it be creepy if you could see, but having it be blind is now even we, the audience, are left to imagine what is happening to the house around them to have it, just magically these stairs keep adding or, decreasing in number. And it's just a lot of fun. And two, just this subtle element of like not really emphasizing too much on what's in there with this person. Something's in there with them. It's just creepy.
I mean, it's nice to go like you're stepping into this pit effectively, or like if the staircase keeps going, who knows? It's like it goes all the way down to hell, right? You have this like infinite staircase, but they can't see it. Like it could be one step at a time right in front of their feet, or it could be this chasm that's opened up. But them being blind adds a layer to it. The way that it's worded makes it feel very real, given our situation and stuff. Like, yeah, I really like that. That was a great intro.
The do you think that this author is blind? Do we have any evidence for that?
I would say no, because the title of this story is I Am Blind. So it's like, that's the unique thing there. And then a bunch of our other stuff none of the titles seem to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just because you're blind doesn't mean everything has to be about being blind, but just curious, just because it was so well spoken to. I really like the idea too of people say that her writing is rich because she doesn't say the apple's red. It's, like more of the taste and feel of something. Just little things that, I mean, we were kind of talking about, you really take for granted your eyesight and stuff. I think like you really reject a lot of the other senses because of that. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. That was a really quick one too. So I'm curious to see if the other parts are as, are they as condensed? Does she start getting longer with her writing? Going to be curious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got me hooked. I certainly liked it. Even if that was just a standalone vignette, like by itself, it'd be like, that's cool. That's a cool concept.
Just a spooky little, story is nice.
Yeah. So, part 2. As I typed out the first post, actually dictated it, I would stop from time to time to listen. The creaking was not consistent and almost imperceptible. A normal person couldn't probably hear it, but my remaining 4 senses were overly sharpened. I guess what scared me most was the silence in between.
That was one thing too I forgot to say in the first part was really like the use of like the silence, like kind of really raising like the nothingness from all your other senses would make you so scared versus being like in the dark and not being able to see anything. Imagine being in a place where you're descending these steps and like all you can hear is just the sound of your feet on the floor, like no cars, nothing.
You have absolutely no idea what's going on. It really does feel like your house just gained more steps all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have no visual line. Yeah. Yeah. I'd speak to dictate. I'd hear the creaking. I'd stop. The creaking would stop too. It's almost as if it was mocking me. I didn't want to think of the thing I'd bumped into. Felt like bumping into a coat rack or something, but I didn't stop to feel around. I have a consistent urge to flee any dangerous situation I'm in because I know I can't fight it. Even if I were fast, even if I were strong, I can't fight something I don't fully understand. They could be standing right in front of me, and if they were still enough, I wouldn't know. As I finished writing, I reached for my phone. I figured I'd call my sister. I was starting to feel the warmth of the morning light on my shoulders through the windows and hear some birds. Judging on how stiff I felt, I must have been up all night. The creaking had stopped. It had made its way up to my door. Was it standing on the other side?
Hey Siri, call Daphne.
My voice sounded so hoarse. Usually I talk to myself a lot. I sing, whatever. I play music. This time I've been so quiet, so afraid to make a sound, so afraid to breathe. The phone was ringing.
Hi there. You good? It's kind of early. What time is it?
Like 6 a.m.?
Damn, I'm sorry.
Everything okay?
I stopped. Slowly, I crept up to the door and placed my ear on the oak wood to listen. I could feel someone's presence outside, waiting.
Oof, that's creepy.
I think someone broke into my house, and they're being very discreet about it. I've started noticing things, unusual stuff. I trip when I shouldn't, and last night I bumped into something, like a coat rack.
What? Are you sure?
Yes, and the staircase kept creaking. Right now, I've locked myself into the bedroom, but I think it's waiting on the other side of the door.
Fuck. That's so creepy. I have to be at the office at 9, but I'll phone in if I'm late. I'll come check it out.
Thanks. Do you have a key?
Silence.
Daft, do you have a key?
No.
Well, why? Didn't I give you one?
You did, but I didn't take it. I felt weird having a key to your house.
For fuck's sakes.
Whatever, just come. I'll fucking go downstairs again and let you in.
Okay, stay safe.
Yeah, whatever.
After that, so here, that silence, do you think that something, it feels like something was interjecting into that conversation, right? A complete tonal shift. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. Where it's like, everything was fine up until do you have a key?
What's I'm saying?
Okay, also Daphne's response you would think would be more intense, where she's like, I think someone's in my house, right? You think it'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm calling the police, I'm getting whatever, but she's just kind of like, that's creepy. Well, I have to be at the office at 9. She's kind of almost dismissive of it a bit.
See,
but then
yeah.
Do you have a key? Silence. Do you have a key? No. And then you did, but I didn't take it. I felt weird having a key to your house.
I think the whole idea of like you're waking up at 6 a.m. They're like, it's kind of early at 6. She's kind of groggy. And then she's like, I think someone's in my house. I feel like you'd be like, what? What the fuck? That's weird. Like, I think she was giving off normal vibes. And then even when she's like, well, I'll just call in and say I'm going to be late and I'll swing by. Like, it's very receptive. And then all of a sudden, do you have a key? No. It's like very short answered. Before it was very ever flowing. So I don't know.
There might be something there. That's interesting, though. I think you're right, though, that there's definitely a tonal shift on purpose there.
No matter what, the one thing's for certain is that chocolate milk is work. I mean, like, I am having to hold everything in right now. Go ahead.
You can run to the bathroom.
No, I want to see. I'm kind of hooked right now.
On seeing if you can hold it in or the story?
The story. Maybe both.
What would happen if you just violently...
If I had a violent diarrhea in my pants, I would show the audience. I would show you the back of my legs and everything. Okay. But I want to know what happens.
Okay. All right. If that milk gets too bad, you need to let me know.
I'll let you know.
Okay?
I'll switch to mobile and I'll record that way.
Okay. All right. I hung I'm imagining now that like the camera's cutting back and forth between my normal setup and you like in a dark bathroom with the phone right under your chin and like you could just hear very loud toilet noises.
I don't want to come to that. Please read.
I hung up and sat on the floor, back against the door, waiting, listening. Nothing was going on. Did I scare it off? She texted me she had 10 more minutes until she got to my place. Okay, finally, I stood up and unlocked the door. I stood there in silence for a while. My options were very limited. Normal people could literally look around and make out if they were alone or not. I couldn't. All I could do was listen. If whatever was there was being really still, really silent, my worst option was to feel around. That terrified me. I've talked to others. Something similar for them was sticking their hand out in complete darkness. The thought of touching that thing made my skin crawl. The direct contact was so unbearable, so much more dangerous, but I had no choice. Because everything was silent, so I stuck my hands out. My heart raced with every step. I wanted to keep going, but at the same time, I wanted so badly to stop and turn around. Made my way to the stairs. 14 steps, back to normal. I was barefoot and the hardwood floors felt so cold, so unusual against my skin. I thought that bothered me until I stepped into something sticky.
Ugh.
You, fuck, what the fuck?
I gagged and wiped my foot on the carpet. I was going to ask Daphne what that was. Made it to the door without any other occurrences. I unlocked it and was greeted by the familiar voice of my sister.
Hi, oh God, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. I'm ready to call 911, dialed up and everything. I'll take a look. I wanted Ryan to come too, but you know how it is with him and work.
I felt her warm hands around mine and her sweet perfume.
Thank you. It's such a comfort that you're here. Yeah, no problem. Please take a look. Tell me if you notice anything unusual, and I stepped into something sticky in the living room. Please tell me what it is. Okay, I will. Let's see.
I heard her pace the room carefully without saying a word. Silence.
So, what is it? Anything weird?
Silence. Why wasn't she speaking?
It's nothing alarming. It's just odd. What did I step on? First of all, that is jam. Jam? Yeah, jam. Are you sure? Yep. There's a jar on your counter, open. Maybe you forgot about it? No, I did not fucking eat jam. What? That's nothing. Things are a bit out of order. How? Usually pretty neat right now. It's a bit of a mess. But weird. Got a pan on the floor and this painting propped up on your dinner table, taken from the wall, a pile of clothes spread around, almost in a pattern. What the fuck? Go upstairs and check too.
Bro, if someone has just been living in her house.
Not only has someone been living in your house, but they're like basically doing some kind of like fucking ritual or something. And they're eating her food.
The place.
Yeah.
They're just throwing clothes and they're eating. You know how terrifying that? I have never considered that. If you were blind in a really big house, if someone was really quiet, really sneaky, they could just live in the house with you.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my gosh.
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh, that would be. Oh man. I could tell she didn't want to, based on her hesitation. Eventually, I heard her climb the stairs and walk around a bit.
So, anything? Please speak. There's nothing weird upstairs and no one anywhere. It's pretty neat.
That bothered me for some reason.
How neat? Well, the usual. Bed made, things in order. My bed is made? Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't make it. Oh, God.
Oh, gosh.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I didn't make it.
Oh, no.
I was literally sleeping in it. Then I woke up to get a glass of water. Then the weird shit happened. I locked myself in the bedroom. Didn't stop to make my fucking bed. I mean, it's not perfectly made. Like a child tried to.
Oh, God. What a haunting detail. God. You said no one was there.
That freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
You said no one was there. No one. Call the police.
I heard her getting downstairs.
Look, I can't. Why not? Someone's definitely fucking around in my house. And tell them what? That someone made your bed? Placed your pan on the floor? No signs of forced entry? You didn't get hurt? I bumped into something. In the middle of the night? In the dark? How unusual. Okay, well, someone was definitely there. Look, there's not much I can do. I've checked everything. You're pretty safe. You have no attic, no basement, no back door. Windows locked, doors locked. You're good. I'll help you clean up and I'll get going. If there's anything weird, call me. Okay.
I had to ask her, even though she was going to think I'm crazy.
How many steps does my staircase have? What? Count them for me. 14 as usual. Okay.
Okay. For one, I want to call out Daphne's comment where she says, our author says, I bumped into something, and Daphne says, in the middle of the night, in the dark, how unusual. That was a jerk thing to say. That was very rude. To be like, oh, it was dark out? How could you see?
Yeah, it seems a bit odd because it's like, well, that doesn't really matter. But I'm still under the impression, I don't know, the sister character, it just seems like it's not, well, I'm making leaps and bounds, but I'm like, it just seems odd.
I don't know. I feel like there's something up with her. I also feel like Yes, I understand. Like, if my sister called me right now and I came over, she was like, I think someone's been here with me. Granted, my sister's not blind, of course, but I'd probably be like, have you considered the possibility that you're stupid?
Yeah.
Have you considered not being dumb? Have you ever thought of that? Like, I don't know if I'd immediately be like, you're right, I'm calling the police and telling them that there's a man living in your house that's not broken into, you know? So I kind of get it, but I also feel like
the painting off the wall and like the living room situation was a bit odd.
The thing about it's like a child made it.
Yeah, that comment is fucked.
This is great so far, by the way. Just the premise of like a blind person having someone live in their house is terrifying. I definitely felt I had flipped a switch with that question, because after that question, the way she talked to me changed. She was overly patient, overly calm, kept telling me to put on some music, distress, take a bath, listen to one of my audiobooks, and don't panic. I felt an ounce of heartbreak to think my sister didn't believe me, but I moved on. After that, a few days passed, when I kept staying alert, but nothing happened. No weird stuff, everything had gone back to normal. Christmas came and I hosted, had friends and family over, and forgot about how lonely and desolate I'd felt in that house. Maybe I just had an episode of wandering. Maybe my mind had just been somewhere else. When you live with a disability, sometimes it's hard to stay on track.
And to be fair, she was just going back and forth. Like you could make an argument for herself of being like, I mean, I was counting my steps and it was crazy. Who knows? Maybe I just like had a weird, you know what I mean? Like just.
Yeah, but again, granted, I'm not in her position, but
Sure.
I feel like 100 steps, I would be like, okay.
Well, that's what I mean though, is maybe she's like, maybe I did have like a fucking weird mental split.
Maybe it was
there
like
for
a
second.
snap moment.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what if my mental health had taken a hit? I was aware. It's still entertaining. The AC was on and blasting waves of warmth around the house, and I was starting to feel sleepy. I reached out my leg out of the blanket and touched the floor. The cold floor. Reached my hand out and felt the couch. Cold, too. This coldness was everywhere. How could it be? I had the AC on for the whole evening. Why was it so cold? I reached for the remote and turned up the AC. It wasn't working.
Stupid fucking air conditioner. I'm going to turn it off and on. Modern problems require modern solutions.
I told you I talk to myself a lot. So I pressed the big button. The AC beeped. The beep was wrong. It should have been lower. It's higher when it turns on. Was it off this whole time? Couldn't be. I literally felt its warm breeze on the back of my neck. Oh, it's like a gut punch. Oh, Hunter, I'm scared. Oh, I'm scared. I'm afraid. Wait, when did she say she felt it while she was on the couch?
Yeah, it was just behind her, breathing right behind her. So it was like,
oh my word. It's just like she's just watching TV and it's just there with her the whole time. And it could be anything. It could be
a
any
giant
beast,
fucking baby.
any monster.
don't like that.
I wonder if we have to have some blind viewers, right? Well, listeners, I guess. We have to have some blind audience members, right? Is this like, I guess it would be a recurring fear or a common fear about someone being in a room with you don't know about, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's that great movie called Hush. I think it's about a blind woman in the house, and I mean, I don't know. I would assume just somebody watching you.
No, Hush is a deaf woman.
Oh, deaf woman. Oh, okay. Yeah, that movie rules too. But yeah, no, I think it's just the idea of someone being in your house you just don't know because you're missing one of your senses, and it just leaves you a little more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if that's like a common thing, because now that I'm thinking about it, that would be, I mean, obviously as someone who isn't used to it and just afraid from a distance, I feel like that would be nightmare fuel story. I feel like stories like this would be terrifying.
Yeah.
You know?
Even just home invasion
back of my
stories.
neck.
Like I know people who are super susceptible to just like home invasion stories and stuff. Very
Oh, yeah.
real, weird thing. But yeah.
The escalator spilled the rush hour crowd onto the platform at the same speed a glacier spills ice into the sea. I looked out over the crowded platform during my interminable downward ride. The train status sign said the next train was the pain from my fall.
Oh my God. So he's in darkness with throbbing pain
Years.
for years.
Yeah. That's so I love that line. I blinked. Years of darkness followed. That's so good. My hyper-accelerated mind wasted no time compensating for the lack of sensory input. Voices spoke to me. They sung to me in languages that never existed. Patterns and faces and colors came and went in my mind's eye. I recalled my whole life and imagined living another. I forgot English. I settled into a profound despair. I spoke to God. I became God. I imagined a new universe and brought it to life with my thoughts. Then I did it all again and again. My eyes opened with geological slowness. A faint glow. Weeks. A slit of light. Weeks. A narrow view of the metro platform. Ankles of the commuters near me and an advertisement on the opposite wall. I extracted my phone from my pocket. Project that spanned decades. How can I even explain the boredom? The pain in my shoulder is nothing compared to the boredom. Every thought I can think, I have thought hundreds of times already. The view of ankles and advertisements never changes. Never. The boredom is so intense it's tangible, like a solid object of metal and stone wedged into my skull. Inescapable.
Ugh.
What are my options? If I crawl and fall into the tracks without an oncoming train to crush me, I won't die. I'll experience even more pain from the 4-foot fall, but I'll most likely be rescued by some do-gooder on the platform and unable to act when the train finally does arrive. My suffering in that scenario will be endless. So I wait for the train, so I can throw myself under it. When it finally hits me, I will experience the pain of being ripped to pieces for centuries, until finally the light of life leaves my brain and my experience ends. I've lived hundreds of lifespans at the foot of this bench. I'm far older in spirit than any human who has ever lived. Most of my life experiences have been a snapshot of pain huddled on the floor of a subway platform with an unchanging view of ankles and advertisements. This post is my plan B, my Hail Mary, my long shot. I've spent lifetimes typing and posting this message in the hope that someone will read it and become convinced that my suffering must end. Someone on this platform right now. Someone who will find the man curled under the bench, the man who crawled down the escalator, and kill him as swiftly as possible, a bullet to the temple. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me.
Wonderful.
That was great. I like that one. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely wonderful. That by far, out of all the things we've read, this would be the most excruciating. This is the most horrific thing we've ever read in terms of
pain-wise,
in terms of actual despair and horror. This is by far the most horrifying thing we've ever read. In just the theory of like actually living that thing. Like obviously there's stories that instill a lot of fear in us as well, but this one is just being a thing of actually trying to put yourself in those shoes. of, I mean, 10,000 years. Like, can you even imagine you know what it reminded me a lot of was the Junji Ito story, The Long Dream. It's my favorite Junji Ito story, and it reminds me of that one.
Yeah. That is what I was trying to think of something. That and there was another story it reminded me of those similar, those thing. Maybe I was just thinking The Long Dream. Yeah, it's very similar.
It's probably The Long Dream, and then if like a movie, my brain was kind of trickling over into Limitless. Like after a while, I kept picturing the guy looking like Bradley Cooper from that movie.
Yeah,
there's just something horrifying about messing with perception of reality. It's like a very I guess uncanny, weird way to pretty much, I mean, pretty much this is hell. I mean, I don't know any, like it's an eternity of suffering, you know? And I think something that I just really love the monkey paw aspect of making almost like eternal life feel like hell, you know, like someone who would wish I want to live forever. This is what it would be, you know, maybe not everything slowed down, but still that idea, that boredom, like the most horrifying thing is the idea of for thousands of years laying there and just seeing ankles and nothing. Like you can't, I love the part too, when he's like, I forgot the human language. I spoke to God. I became God, and I did it over again. It's like the cycles of there's probably not even a word for it. Like it's beyond insanity. It's like, I don't even know. Like, how would you even describe that?
I mean, it's like a hell, right? If your brain perceives time that slowly, I mean, like you said, like when his eyes were opening, years of a glint of light, right? Like it's horrific. And hypothetically, if he has to do that for hours, it would be millions of years, right?
I wonder if after a while too, do you think that there will be a point ever that the brain would just like, because that's like that was kind of the ending in The Long Dream, was that in his mind, each time he slept, millions of years had passed to the point where it physically was altering his body until he just like turns to dust. Do you think that in this reality, in this thing, in this universe, do you think something would happen where your brain is moving so fast that like it rapidly ages? Like I wonder if there would be any kind of physical altercation.
There would have to be, right? Your brain moving that fast, it would change so much about your body. I mean, like realistically,
probably organ failure or something.
The synapses in your body can only move so fast, right? And at the speed his brain is processing, his synapses are moving faster than the speed of light, right? But within reality, if your brain was moving that fast, you would probably seize and die. Like for your brain to process information that quickly, it would be like an overload, effectively.
Yeah.
You'd have an aneurysm or something.
Yeah. What would be weird though is that even though, you know what's kind of interesting to think about is that it might even be happening now, but the perception of time is just getting longer, so it doesn't actually execute until, like, it'd almost be something where you're having an aneurysm, but it takes millions of years to fully like go through your perception or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that just is so fucking brutal. I mean, even trying to actually wrap your head around the idea of like typing out that message, or like this Reddit post would be something that would just be like, I mean, I don't even know. I can't even describe, just to look at your days and you're like trying to type and trying to do that. And like a T pops up. Like if you're like my long shot, you just typing my takes God knows how many years. Pretty fucking brutal.
It's heavy. I really love that story. I love the way that ended too.
It was I feel like it's weird. I feel like it I don't know if it was just the amount of time that goes into this, how slow time went, but for such a short story, it felt so full. Like it felt much longer than I expected. When we kind of were looking at this at first, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is going to be enough, but it really
kind of fucks with you. I really wonder mentally if I was like slowing down in my own, in like my head, like talking about it so much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Pretty crazy. Great
Went
story
pretty
though.
hard. Big fan. I like that one. That one was a banger, I feel like.
An absolute mad lad banger.
So from there, we have some other stories for him. There are other stories within this universe, kind of within like the storyline of the Glenmont Metro. There is a 3-part one called, this is why I didn't want to give away the title. My patient spent 8 million years under a bench at the Glenmont Metro. So that's its own 3-part story. We may not want to read that one, or at least give it a while, just because it feels like my prediction is it probably gives too much.
Yeah, I would like to enjoy this
explanation.
story. I think just for like let it sink and let me like live with it for a bit. You know,
Another one from the same author. As a matter of fact, if you go to his website, A New Kind of Monster, he has some of his stories grouped by different like styles. So there's ones for called Notes from the Laboratory. There's one about cosmopathology, which is a really cool term. And then he has one for Glenmont and the Second Death Universe. So obviously the first story in that series is the one reread. If you're armed and at the Glenmont Metro, please shoot me. And then the second one is this story called My Daughter Wants to Eat a Woman Who Shares Her Birthday, which is another banger title, by the way.
yeah.
Then after that, there seems to be a 3-part stories that is about the person from the Glenmont Metro story. We may get into that one day. And then it seems that Peter Frost David has made an entire book kind of built in this universe called Second Death. So
Ooh.
if the Glenmont Metro thing sounds cool to you and you want to see more, well, check out the Second Death.
Yeah.
But this is the second short story he has written, at least according to his website, within this universe. So we're going to get into that and see how we like it now.
Yeah. I love these titles.
Oh yeah, they're good. They're great. From that first story, I'm hooked. The guy's cooking.
Yeah. Cooking up a storm.
So I welcomed myself back into the conversation. Released.
You're going to make me go back there, aren't you?
Flashed him a smile and offered.
Well, I could go alone.
Tim agreed, and my dad laughed at him and remarked,
Yeah. She does that shit to me too. Good luck with that.
Tim, also wanted to ask you about the 911 hangups you used to respond to back when you were a rookie. But what else do you remember about the tenant?
Tim thought for a moment and replied,
Well, she was certainly a pretty young girl. She had 2 very young children. Neither could talk yet, so I bet they were under 2. She looked young herself, too. I would suspect she was maybe around 20 years old, if that. Just had that baby face, you know. Anyhow, she was very curious about the house and the locked door in the basement. Most people hated when the cops showed up, but she always seemed, I don't know, relieved. She would mention how big that house was and how she always felt like someone was watching her. God, good fucking Lord. Even the tenants after her made similar comments. I always chalked it up to being the history of the Wentz farm, you know? Good God. I don't know why it would be. I always thought she moved somewhere else because right after she left, the new tenant came in. I guess I don't know exactly what happened to her. Do you remember her name? Oh God, I'm awful with names. I'll never forget a face, but I can't remember names. You know that.
Could her name have been Michelle Klein?
Honestly, I don't know. It could have, but I have no idea. It was 20 years ago.
Dad, what do you know about the tenants of the house in the late 90s?
I remember all the tenants were similar.
What do you mean?
They look similar.
Dad, this is important. Just tell me what you're trying to spit out.
Well, all the tenants were young, attractive women. They were mostly blonde from out of town. The type of girls that
Your mother would not have liked me stopping to talk at the grocery store, if you catch my drift. Whores.
Wait, are you saying that you think that they're prostitutes?
No, I'm just... I mean, they're young, pretty, kind of ditzy, you know?
I wasn't sure what to make of this information, but I let Tim finish his cigar before he headed into the station. We were scheduled off for Tuesday, but given this new information, I requested and was granted to come in and work overtime to follow up. I remembered that Tim used to go to the beach and come back with old coins and whatnot that he would find using his metal detector. I asked him if he could bring his metal detector to Patch Lane with him this evening to help us find the safe. After we broke from roll call, we immediately headed to Patch Lane. The scene was done being processed, so we walked through the front door. We went up to the master bedroom and tried every floorboard, every inch of the wall, looking for where a safe could be hidden. We were unsuccessful. We mutually decided to try the basement before the rest of the house. Worked our way into the room where we found Michelle's body. There's some scenes you just won't forget. That was one. Her body was purple, swollen, and unrecognizable as human. The only way I even identified her as a young woman was based on the long blonde hair and the clothing she had on. Tim ran his metal detector along the cement wall and we heard beep, beep. He continued to move it along to the left. Beep, 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 beep. We looked at each other for a moment before he dropped his metal detector and we grabbed at the wall. I don't know what we were even grabbing at, but we kept feeling along the wall. As I pushed along the wall, the block moved. I grabbed my knife from my pocket and Tim grabbed his. Both shoved our knives along the cement brick, eased it out from the wall. There it was, the safe. It was an old-fashioned turn-dial lock, like the kind I used to have in my high school locker. Drawing on my memory, cleared the lock before trying the combination. Spun to the left, stopping at 34, spun it 2 times to the right, stopping at 16, spun it back to the left, stopped at 8, click. I went to open the door. Tim's eyes and mine locked on the safe. Then I heard another click. This wasn't like the unlocking of the safe. This was familiar. It was the cocking of a revolver. I turned around and was faced with the barrel of a gun.
Well. You pigs just can't stay away from my house.
He had blonde hair, although the gray was taking over, and piercing blue eyes.
You're as bad as that bitch who couldn't keep her mouth shut. You know, I let her live here because she appeared cute and dumb. Her curiosity what got her... Okay, what is happening here? This is fucking stupid. Okay, hold on now. All right, let me get back in. I'm fading, bro. I'm fading.
We're almost there. We're so close.
You're as bad as that bitch who couldn't keep her mouth shut. You know, I let her live here because she appeared cute and dumb. Her curiosity is what got her killed. Just like what I'm gonna do to you two.
The problem with facing a gun is that no matter how fast I could grab my gun, we would have been able to pull his trigger faster. However, there are other options. I slowly walked towards our killer, hands in the air, leveled with my shoulders, and asked,
You're Joseph, aren't you? Yeah, and you're dead.
As he finished his sentence, my nose was nearly touching the barrel of his gun. I grabbed the barrel, twisting it to his right, making a full 360-degree circle. I heard his pointer finger snap as it got tangled in the trigger and broke. I had his gun and pointed it right back at him.
Get on the fucking ground!
He slowly raised his hands in the air and got on his right knee, then his left. Tim ran behind Joseph and placed him in handcuffs. Once the scene was under control, we called for backup. As officers arrived on scene, so did the suits. 2 suits from earlier in the week came down. Tim and I recounted the evening's events. It was at this point that I realized I still didn't get to see what was inside the safe. Walked over and opened the door. Grabbed a handful of papers and pulled them out. There were photographs. Tim instantly said,
That's her. That was the girl. Like I said, I never forget a face, just names.
Suits looked at him and said,
That's Michelle Klein. Your body and our witness.
I took a deep inhale and released it with a long sigh.
Now, could you please tell us what the hell went on here?
Oh, man.
The suits looked at each other and the older one nodded his head.
All right. So your Mr. Joseph Mueller here was into some deep stuff. Most predominantly, he ran illegal guns and sold them to some big names, including the mafia. The ATF thought they got everything during their raid years ago. But there are so many hidden passages, tunnels, and root cellars throughout this property, and land he kept hiding. He kept hiding them from. He kept hiding them somewhere new. Trust us. If you knew about the tunnels and passages you are literally standing on right now, you have nightmares for years.
Suit took a sip of his coffee and continued.
Good coffee. Anyways, he used the tenants as a cover-up and targeted tenants who he thought wouldn't ask any questions and would be fine with sending checks addressed as cash to a P.O. box as their monthly rent checks. But he didn't expect was for Michelle Klein to start asking questions and go digging through this house. She stumbled across one of the root cellars where he stored guns and called the feds immediately. She didn't know she could trust the oh my god. She didn't know if she could trust the local police at this point and went straight to the ATF. ATF contacted us and said they knew Mueller and knew that if he found out that she knew, then she would be dead. She knew that he knew, that she knew that he knew that he'd be dead. So they sent her to us to protect her. Part of her protection meant that we needed to fake her death so that Mueller wouldn't be suspicious and go looking for her. She refused initially, but when he explained to her that their children's lives would be at risk too, she agreed.
He looked towards the safe and continued.
Looks like she used this safe here to store old family photographs and their birth certificates to prove their existence. We told her she had to leave all this behind and couldn't take any evidence with her of her previous life or her children. This all happened on October 20th, 1998. It looks like she wrote down the safe code on the first piece of paper she could find and kept it after all these years. Received notification about 2 weeks ago that her son was diagnosed with cancer. Goddamn cancer. Kid was only 22 years old and a brain tumor. She kept on telling us she wanted to go see him, and we explained to her why it just wasn't possible. And we even told her we probably wouldn't recognize her. We probably wouldn't recognize her. It looked like she did her best to try to look as close as. Wait, oh my god, I can't fucking read. It looks like she did her best to try to look as close as she looked 20 years ago, including her clothing, so that he would recognize her. She probably wanted to go grab these photographs to show him proof that she was the mother and jog his memory. When she was here, Joseph must have seen her from one of his tree stands and wanted to silence her. She was one of the only witnesses willing to go forward with testimony. We just could never catch him after all these years.
Well, I hope this entire case can be closed now.
Yeah, I don't think you should be getting any more 911 hang-ups from this house.
So hold on.
I have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Okay, so there was I zoned out as you were explaining that, but there was this woman, Michelle Klein.
Yeah, there was a ditzy hot chick.
She was an
apparently
informant for this guy that was running guns.
A mafia guy.
Sure, yeah.
And then she was like, hey, there's a guy's running guns.
So then she gets put to store photographs.
Yeah, she gets in the witness protection program, puts the safe in the photographs thing, blah, 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 has to abandon her kids. So her son gets cancer and she doesn't talk to her son. So she was going to go back to the house after all these years and grab pictures to be like, see, this is me. I'm your mom. But the Joseph Mueller mafia guy is in a tree stand. And
so she goes back to the house to get pictures of her life before witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
To tell a 22-year-old that she is his mother. And she wanted to see him. So she went and bought clothes from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then she goes to the house to get the photographs out of the wall. But the guy who 20 years ago had the house the ATF was searching is just living in the woods of the property now, and he's in like a tree stand with a rifle, and he sees her and then kills her, and then for some reason after he kills her starts calling the police.
I don't think you should be getting any more 911 hangups from that house.
Yeah, so he was like just to be evil, I guess, mess with the police. And then when the police show up to his, why did he got away from the police? Why does he care about this house that has nothing except pictures of a woman he killed in it?
Yeah, I don't think you should be getting any more 911 hangups from this house.
And then when the police show up to go through the safe, he's like, "I'm going to kill you," and then she like quick judo chop disarms him, and he doesn't get disarmed.
Yeah, I don't think you should be getting any more 911 hangups from that house.
I processed what they had just said and asked.
Yeah, wait. Who was the one making those phone calls then?
We can't disclose that information, but you can think of them as a good Samaritan who had eyes everywhere and wanted to see justice done.
Hold on. Someone saw that the guy who had the mouse murdered a woman and then put her in the secret room that led to another secret room in the house. So their solution was to just call the police and say something was happening at this disclosed house over and over until we headed back to the station where I started the never-ending paperwork process. Now that we were more secluded, I grabbed one of the suits and decided to tell him about my experience at the medical examiner's office. Began to think he was involved and it was something they needed to know. He stopped me and said,
"This is actually something that Emmy wanted to talk to you himself about. Hold on."
A suit came back with the Emmy and he extended his hand to shake mine. I was confused by the gesture, but shook his hand.
"Officer Barkley, I just wanted to say what a fantastic job you did on this case. I also wanted to apologize in person for how I acted and how I handled this case. I received an anonymous threat that if I performed an autopsy or did anything at all with the body, my family was going to be killed. They even knew my daughter's school and her schedule. Dispatch to 1034. 1034, go ahead. Are you able to respond to a 911 hang up? Affirmative. What's the address? Yeah! See, it's ideal. What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor?
Okay.
Well, Isaiah, what'd you think? That's the end of it. Except now it's an anthology of all the other kooky cases that's going on.
Okay. So I met the thing I said about the story earlier, that it's like a Sherlock Holmes format still fits, right? It's like, yeah, hold on. You have like, oh, it looks like it's a supernatural case, but then as the story goes on, you figure out that there's like realistic.
Yeah,
like
Scooby-Doo.
it has a like Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it's a guy in a mask. It's not a monster. Yeah. My issue is I feel like the story bit off a bit more than it could chew with trying to set up like, oh, there's a house that someone from a different point in time appeared in the locked room. And then at the end, it was afraid kind of to leave some of that to the audience's discretion. So they had this huge info dump that explained, because you explain so much that it becomes more complicated. Like if you didn't say anything about the woman having a kid who has cancer, so she needs to dress up as how her son would remember her from 20 years ago. If you just said nothing, you could be like, oh, well, maybe the killer dressed her in that because he's a freak and that's how he remembered her, right? If you just don't address it, you can give plausible reason to the audience. Like, it tried too hard to make sure you understood everything that it kind of like led to more confusion. But that being said, I really liked the idea of setting up like a police officer's call to where you think it's a supernatural case, but then it has a reasonable explanation. I feel like it leaned in a little heavy to the exposition dump at the end. But I like this format. And also, this seems to be one of her first stories, I believe. And now she's a published author with a bunch of work. So I would love to see this kind of format refined. I think it could do well.
Yeah.
How do you feel there, detective?
I'm dead inside.
Okay. All right. Well,
having the medical examiner at the end come out
that was
like,
insane.
Officer Barkley, I just want to say because the guy Joseph Mueller,
one guy who is for some reason 20 years later living in a tree stand outside of the house.
Living in a tree stand is for some reason this mysterious person who's like, hey, they're gonna kill my family. He had to then call Barkley sweet tits and sugar or whatever the fuck he was saying. He's like, sorry, I had to be a completely different person.
Yeah, he had to be evil. And then afterwards, there's the whole like the hero gets their way in the end because the medical examiner's like, I apologize for my behavior because this random person threatened to kill me. And instead of doing what any medical examiner would do and telling the police I work with, I just went along with it and decided to help cover up a murder.
And there's there could be more to Joseph Mueller, right? And these other stories out there from this cop who just gets no respect, little Rodney Dangerfield cop gets no respect, and it's a whack pack case of cops here. But maybe have your antagonist of your story have a little more of a reveal than 3 sentences before he gets arrested is a creative note that I probably would have given.
Maybe introduce the concept of someone being there before it's like a revolver cocks, I'm going to kill you. And then she disarms him and that's it. Never gets robbed again. Why is he there to shoot police off? He got off of the case 20 years ago. Why is he in the woods near the old house?
Yeah. Hey guys, Judd Usable here. So now it's actually him posting and not his roommate.
Yep. This will be the last time you'll be hearing from me. And this is my final gift to you. These are the notes that I have taken and the realizations I've made. Before I delve into this, I want to thank you for following me and thank you for listening. It feels like me in my dream. That I would be minding my own business when I'd feel my neck hair stand up on end. I would turn around, that horrible, lifeless statue would be staring with those empty eyes right at me, merely inches away. My dream, I remember calling it Ben. Power of suggestion, most likely, and never before had I had a dream that I could remember so vividly. Really don't want to play this game again. I think I'm going to go back to see if the old man's there instead. No old man, but I had an interesting conversation with this neighbor. Post the full thing with my summary of tonight's attempt playing the game. Going to wait for a bit though to see if I can't dig up any information on this Ben guy. I've been getting random, inexplicable headaches due to the lack of sleep and keep hearing that song in my head. Also, it's flu season, so I need to be careful not to get sick. My immune system's going to be shit right now because of the all-nighter. My computer just, on its own, opened up a text document and wrote the words, "Hi," and www.cleverbot.com by itself. WTF. I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I just let the conversation speak for itself. Hello?
Hello.
Who is this and how are you able to control my computer?
Who am I?
Right. Forgot you're a bot.
Do you really think that?
Listen, I know whoever's screwing with my computer can see my screen right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough shit. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right?
Is it?
No shit. Are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get off my computer, kid.
I am your computer.
Cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to screw with me, kid.
I should wait until you play the game again.
What is this voice? Why are you making...
Wait, it's Cleverbot.
What makes you think that this text-to-speech program's like, oh, I'm just a little boy? Like...
Should I wait until you played the game then?
Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. What?
That game.
Majora's Mask?
Yeah.
How did you know about that? Who is this?
Big.
The statue? You're inside my computer now?
Yeah.
How?
You connected me.
How the hell did I connect you?
Cable and cords.
How?
Tell me about yourself.
What?
Tell me about yourself.
What do you mean?
What is it that really scares you?
What the... What?
Answer.
No.
Answer.
What the... How did you just open that by yourself?
I'm your computer now.
How much can you control?
Oh.
What do you want from me?
To entertain.
You're stuck inside there. You can't hurt me.
Go play.
No, you can't hurt me.
Took you longer to type that.
So?
You're not sure.
If you're so powerful, why use a ridiculous website like this to chat with me?
Less messy, more structured, fun.
Fun?
Yes. Tradition. I like that.
You think it's funny?
Amusing.
And my notes?
You may write them down.
Why are you letting me?
It is amusing to see what you think of me.
Window closes. Do you want to explain what that voice was you were doing?
It's Chatbot, dude, or Cleverbot.
I've never heard Cleverbot. Does it sound like that?
Yeah.
Shut up. I hate you. I'm in the middle. We are at the end of this story. We're going to keep going. Okay. What have I done? I've invited it into my computer. I continue to write these notes, write my summaries. I feel like I am a prisoner in my one place of security. I don't know. I don't know if I'm hallucinating or not. I feel like I'm going insane right now. I can feel it watching over me, even as I type this. Ben is controlling everything in the game, toying with me, leading me like a sheep, but for what? What's the purpose? I know Ben drowned, but why these hauntings? What am I even doing? It could probably even see this right now. Ben called me to
Are you bored?
I'm not bored. I just know that you're gonna derail this. I just know you're gonna derail this. He tells me that he's sorry and wants to be free, that I can free him. That's just like how he got on my computer from the capture card. He could spread, but he needs my help. Says I am special because I can help him. This is the first nice thing he said. He promises to leave me alone if I do it. Swears he will. I don't know what to think right now. How can I even trust this thing? I'm terrified of it, but now it's saying that it was just having fun. It's twisted and screwed up version of fun. He's saying that the game is over. I do want it to be over. He says that he just wants to be free, that he's trapped in the cartridge of my computer and he wants to be freed. I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't know how long I can deal with the watching. It's watching my every move, every keystroke. I have nothing private anymore. It knows everything that's been on my computer. It tells that if it wanted to, it could do horrible things to me, but it hasn't, so I should trust it. Something tells me that I'm being played again, just like in the game. Ben called me to Cleverbot again. I ignored it and went to go take a shower. When I came to my laptop, I was welcomed with an image elegy statue staring at me with those dead eyes. I don't want to talk to him. Screw you, Ben. I'm not talking to you. 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 It's been more than half an hour and the messages have stopped. Ben has stopped. I'm beginning to think that Ben isn't confined to just my computer cartridge. I'm beginning to feel something. It's hard to explain it. I've never been spiritual, but there's something different about the air in my dorm room now. I'm begging to see the elegy statue randomly as I search the internet in places I shouldn't. Places where he shouldn't be. I'd be scrolling down and suddenly I'd be staring at a picture of the elegy statue. Always the elegy statue. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Let me move into the next day. Okay, so I will say right now, I was locked in when he was talking about, like, he was playing the game and he was having moments of like, I am so into it. It feels like it's happening to me. I can't control what's going on. Please help. And then it was this ghost of a boy. I was sold, right? But now that it's kind of like, these are the things I was writing down as I was playing the game, and I'm conversing with him in the computer, but I feel like my life is falling apart when he could just like I get you're in a game session and weird things are happening and you become curious, so you check it out again. But it's like he doesn't have that same attachment to his computer. Just don't use the computer.
I'm not gonna lie, this is getting pretty bad. It's getting
it's dragging itself out way too far.
Yeah, like there's so much excess fat to where I'm like, I'm waiting for Cleverbot to come back.
Yeah, I know you are.
Cleverbot's the only thing that's gonna save this.
I will also say that it feels kind of like losing the plot a bit. You know, where it's like, oh, well, there's a ghost in the game and now I'm like experiencing it and stuff like that. But now it's just kind of like, I'm trying to get out the truth about Ben. It's like, is that what this story was about? Like besting the spirit?
It feels kind of convoluted.
Yeah, I thought it was just about a weird experience that happened. Were we trying to like beat the ghost? Was that what was going on? You know, like
I don't know. It feels like whenever this was like, there's a mystique to it and stuff, but now it's like all these like weird things of him like journaling his entries. Like it just feels weird too, because now that's like a complete polar opposite to what he's been doing this entire time.
It feels so now it's like mapped out. Yeah,
very, very.
I mean, it's on his website, so it's obviously legitimate. But I feel like maybe other creators I listen to just cut out this part. Maybe.
I'd be curious to see, like, if people have done readings of this, if they've just like, I'm not going to include this.
Or maybe this is another point of it. Like, maybe this is because we're reading it on a creepypasta wiki, right? Where it's all laid out in order. Maybe this note section was like supplemental reading during the actual story. In that case, it might work better, you know?
Right.
If like as you're reading his segments, he's like, here's my notes of as things were happening. But because it was a text document at the end, it's all showing up here. So maybe we're not supposed to read this because we're kind of just recapping a lot of stuff that happened. So what if we skip the stuff that's just rehashing what we've already read?
Well, I mean, you want to?
I just mean if it's like most of this looks new. I'm just saying if he gets to another long segment that's like, I was playing the game and this happened. And it's like, yeah, we know, we already read that, you know?
Right.
Just if we get to the same thing again. But for now, we'll just continue with September 9th. My worst fears confirmed. Ben has tampered with my summary of ben.wmv. I looked at the summary that I posted on various forums for the ben.wmv file and parts have been omitted. There's no mention of Ben existing outside the game. Okay, see, now it's starting to make sense why this document's here. Because in the version that gets uploaded or shared around, Ben edits out the parts that mention what Ben's currently doing, right?
I mean, do we even know that he actually had a roommate?
Oh, that's a good point.
Could that just be Ben posting? Like, is it something similar to, you know what I mean? Like,
could absolutely be, yeah. I think that's possible. So maybe here, say Ben's been tampered with and stuff like that. Or Ben's tampered with it. Yeah, everything that we've read thus far could be bad info.
It's true. That's why it's like yeah. I'm curious to see.
There's no mention of Ben existing outside the game. There's no mention of the Moon Children. How could he have been that quick to delete the post without me noticing? I'm wondering if maybe it appeared to me that I was posting everything, but in reality, Ben was posting his own censored version. I'm going to ask Ben why he did it. He doesn't respond to me on Cleverbot. It's just giving the generic response it usually does. Just talking to a bot this time. I think Ben is mad at me. That's funny. It's a funny predicament to be in. The Moon Children appeared in my dreams last night. They lifted up their masks to reveal their hideously disfigured faces. Maggots crawling out of their orifices, sunken black holes where their eyes should be, yellow smile that slowly grew bigger and bigger as they came closer to me. They told me that they wanted to play. I tried to run from them, but the 4 children pinned me down to the ground with surprising strength. Over them stood the happy mask salesman, announcing that he had a new mask that he wanted me to try. In his spastic, sudden movements, matching his in-game appearance, he took out a mask and modeled off of someone's face that I couldn't recognize, a younger-looking face, and handed it to the Moon Children. Giggling, they lashed it to my face, their horrible, broken bodies bouncing up and down. 2 of them held me down while the other 2 began to sew the mask onto my face. My shrieks and screams caused the happy mask salesman's face to turn into the most horrific smile I had ever seen. He sporadically moved around, examining this procedure like a curious doctor. In that impossible movement, I flailed around, but it was no use. My eyes rolled in the back of my head because of the pain. It felt so real, but I couldn't wake up. I couldn't wake up no matter how hard I tried, and I couldn't wake up. After the mask was melded onto my flesh, they began sewing my legs together. Then my arms, horrible feeling of a needle puncturing your legs and pulling them in, rupturing your Achilles tendons and tying them together resonated throughout my entire body. I tried to scream, but the mask was pressed so tightly against my face that it was my new face, and my new face had no mouth. I didn't make a sound. I tried telling myself in my head that I was dreaming. Tried telling myself again and again. Suddenly the Moon Children stopped and looked at me. They just stared. The happy mask salesman slowly bent down and stared at me, inches away from my face, and grinned when he simply said,
"You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?"
Before the Moon Children resumed with increased vigor. I couldn't wake up. It wouldn't let me wake up until they had crafted me into another elegy statue. I woke up sweating, crying, and shaking uncontrollably. I immediately ran to my computer and went for Ben. So basically in his dream, he's experiencing what Ben experienced in some way, becoming a model within the game, right?
Yeah, that's what's appearing to be. It seems like as if this keeps going on, our protagonist is going to be a statue in the game as well.
All right, time for Cleverbot. Are you ready?
Yes.
Answer me, Ben.
Welcome back.
What is the point of doing this? Why?
Amusing to see. Fun to play. Fun to toy with you. Make you feel safe. I wonder how you would have reacted
To what?
if I hadn't revealed myself and stayed hidden, only doing little things to play with you. Close out your windows. Turn off your computer. Move your mouse by itself. Whittle things. Make you wonder if I'm there, but you never know. Give you little hints that I am. I wanted to do something different for you.
Okay, this story has officially lost me. Ben goes from being the dead soul of a child who died tragically, trapped within a game that somehow wounded up in an old man's position, and like this interesting mystery, to just a troll. Just I could shirt off your computer.
He's like a malevolent demon kind of thing, or like a trickster, or whatever.
And not even a good one. He's like the equivalent of your little brother with the controller. Like,
why don't I go ahead and take all your snacks? I just went ahead and deleted your game file.
That's literally what it's like. You know, like any goodwill it had of like, oh well, like maybe some of the absurdity that happens because Ben's just a kid, you know. Now it's just like, I'm dead and caught in this purgatory hell forever, but you can't play with your mouse.
You can't play with your mouse anymore. Sorry, bozo.
It's like,
who
what?
gives a fuck, Ben? You stupid bitch, is what I want to say to him. God, annoying little prick. Also, it's like, why are you also losing this much sleep over this stuff too? It's like you're having like horrible nightmares, and then like the reality of it, you like wake up and he's like,
sorry, I ate all your Fruit Loops. No more delicious snacks for you.
That whole section was awful. Like I could move your mouse by itself.
Deep cringe.
Yeah,
deep cringe.
Okay. You did this before?
Yeah. And I will do it again.
To who? Ben? Did you know Ben?
Won't tell that information to you.
How did Ben die?
You know.
No, but how did he drown?
Won't tell that to you.
Why?
It is reserved for another.
Who?
Another who asked.
When?
Later.
Okay, what? Hold on. He's not talking to Ben? Who's he talking to then?
That's what I don't get.
Did I miss something? Is he talking to like the spirit of the salesman? Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing.
But no, he's explicitly said every time up until now, I think Ben's mad at me. Ben won't talk to me. He opens the conversation by saying, answer me, Ben.
Yeah, but I'm a trickster like that. I'm a man of many faces. I'm a very twicky demon.
That's what it feels like. This is the kind of hell I'm in.
This is sucking pretty hard right now. Like, it's so long too. We're gonna get through it. We're almost there.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of. I mean, there's still, I guess, a chunk, but it's almost done.
There's another Cleverbot conversation though. So.
Yes, Cleverbot. End of part 1. There is eight parts to this story. This is where I'm at. So here's the thing. The first part, I think, is it's not horrible. I think it introduces some interesting ideas of like, yeah, these minor inconveniences would be annoying, and then it kind of keeps riling up to where now you're actually financially getting effective. And to it, and and I think that is scary, like the real world repercussions of these things and how your normal day-to-day life would get completely shattered, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's like I think it needs to do something in the next couple parts to elevate this idea, or else I feel like it's going to be a lot of repetition and shit. And it's absurd. I mean, like, this is just such an absurd concept.
Look, it is. That's honestly the biggest hang up I have in my mind. I am now in my head pretending that David is just a random person.
Yeah.
Because it's way more effective and works better for me if he just accidentally said it to someone, like a stranger, right?
I think it's kind of weird too. Or I guess just something that keeps coming to my mind is that if you had a friend who was really weird, he's like, we had this thing where, we joked around and said, yeah, I ruined my life, whatever. At what point would you kind of have that come back? Like that's what I'm wondering is he keeps saying like, well, now that I do know that now, I'm wondering how he's going to like reiterate that back in, because it's hard for me to separate that. I think that the time skip
didn't help. But as a reader, it's hard to not just be like, well, dude, it's your buddy. It's your buddy. He's fucking with you or whatever, you know? Yeah. And then also I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes, but really hoping part 2 jazzes it up here a bit.
All right, part 2. Hello again, everyone. I've had more time to write than yesterday. Sorry about the length. I'm trying to catch up to the present as quickly as possible, but also include enough detail so you can see how thorough David was being. I'll resume where I left off. While I was still trying to resolve the credit disputes with those companies, my car's windows started getting smashed. The first time, it was parked on the street in front of my apartment. Woke up one morning to find the driver's window smashed and my car raided. My car was just a crappy Honda Civic, and I didn't ever keep anything expensive in there, but they snatched my stereo, which was shitty anyway, and all the spare change in the car. Desperate much?
Oh, dude, if you're going to break into a car and you don't take someone's change, that's fucked up. I remember in school, when I was lived in Kansas City during college, my car got broken into all the time. I mean, to the point where I just left the car unlocked, just to be like, dude, just use it. Don't fuck with my windows anymore. And you want to know what the most fucked up thing was?
What?
They would take your change and stuff every time. They would take everything, wires, broken iPhone cords. They would take trash like cups, take all that. The only thing that ever left in my fucking car, dude, I'm not even joking, was they would leave my 3 Creed CDs every time. They never took my Creed CDs. They would take death metal, they would take country, all this other stuff. They would never take my Creed CDs. And I was fucking pissed. I was like, my own prison, human clay, all this stuff. I was like, you guys are fucked. And I was, and what
you get
pissed me
back
off
here
too
and
is I was
steal
like,
these CDs
well, it was
right
like
now.
you're making a statement. You're making a statement being like, fucking dumbass.
That's
I'm
so
not taking
funny
these.
that the car
Yeah.
thief doesn't want to even steal the Creed.
I was, yeah. So I was like, of course he's going to take the change. At least take the Creed CDs, dude. Like, leave me with some respect. Like, because after a while, it's like, of course you would take the Creed CDs, man. Why wouldn't you? Good music. Good music.
Legendary. That's hilarious. I like that guy, whoever did that. I support him.
I don't. Fuck that guy.
I do. I'm his biggest fan now. I got my window repaired that day and decided to set aside some cash to buy a real nice stereo now that I had an excuse. The next morning, the same window was smashed again. Again, I had parked it in front of my apartment. I got that repaired reluctantly and started to park in the underground parking for the apartment complex. See, no one likes the underground parking because the lines are painted too close, so it's not uncommon for your car to get scratched up down there. I decided it was better than a smashed window, so I fought for a spot that evening. I know you're going to ask why I didn't call the police. Mistakes, that's why. We all make them. You have the wisdom that comes with knowing the whole story. I didn't. Glass was all over around my car when I went down the next morning. It wasn't just the driver's window that was damaged. The front windshield and back windshield were deeply cracked. I spent some time looking at every car in the garage. No one else had so much as a scratch on their windows. What the hell? If some random asshole was out breaking windows, he was targeting me. I noticed the note after I'd gotten into the car. It was a sticky note folded up and slipped into the ignition keyhole. I opened it.
You have to increase your minimum required effort.
It said. The phrasing was intentional. David wanted me to know it was him. When I saw that phrase, I remembered our conversation.
That fucker.
I went into a total rage and drove out of the parking lot, trying my best to drive with the cracked windshield. I still remembered how to get to David's house, and I ran a red light or two to get there. Parking in front of his house, I slammed the door shut and marched to the front door. Held the doorbell for much longer than necessary. Tried to breathe and remain calm. David won't help me if I show up shouting and yelling. His mom answered after a few minutes. David's parents held off on having a child until they were much older. As a result, David's mom was already 75, even though David was only 23.
Hey, hello?
She said, opening the door, and saw who it was.
Oh, it's Edgar. How nice of you to come over. I haven't seen you in weeks.
Yeah, it's been almost a year. Mrs. K, is David home?
Oh, no, sorry, dear. He's at work right now.
Oh, okay. I'll go and catch him at the theater.
I said, backpedaling towards my car.
No, he doesn't work there anymore.
You got fired?
No, he quit. Not long after you did. He became a security guard somewhere. He never mentioned where, though.
I'll call him then.
He dropped his phone a few weeks ago and got a new one. Let me give you the new number.
She walked back inside for a minute, and I waited on the porch. She came back with her old flip phone and opened it.
Do you mind? My arthritis makes it hard to use this phone.
Oh, perfect voice, by the way.
Thank you.
I went to her contacts, found David's number, entered it into mine, and handed the phone back.
Thanks, Mrs. K.
I said, even if David was being an asshole, I'd always liked his mom.
Anytime.
She said with a smile, closed the door. I called David immediately, but only got a voicemail.
Hi, David. It's Xander. I just spoke with your mom and she didn't know where you were, so she gave me your number. Please call me, man. I think you know why.
I said to his voicemail. I figured that being polite was the best way to get him to fix everything. In the middle of the workday, my phone buzzed. Hoping it was David, stepped outside and answered. It was Clark.
Xander, have you been home today since you left?
No, why?
We've been robbed.
What?
Someone broke in and stole a ton of stuff. Your computer's missing. Our TV is gone and all kinds of shit.
Son of a bitch. Did you call the police?
Yeah, they're on their way.
Don't touch anything, okay?
I suggested, remembering all the episodes of CSI that I binged on.
We might be able to get fingerprints. I think I know who it is.
Who?
An ex-friend. I'll tell you when I get home. I'm leaving soon.
I told the manager that my apartment had been broken into, and he let me go home. I drove home with my still broken windshields, praying I didn't get pulled over for it. When I got to the apartment, the police were already there. I walked to the landing where a cop was interviewing Clark and another was looking through the apartment. The cop turned to face me.
Are you one of the roommates?
This is Xander.
My partner's looking through the apartment now. A tech is going to come out and dust for prints. We're going to need you to make an inventory of everything that was stolen and bring it to the station once the tech is done.
I have a suspect.
I said. The cop raised his eyebrows.
His name is David King. He used to be a really good friend of mine, but recently I've suspected that he's been doing all kinds of shit to me. I think he's stolen my identity and my parents' identity, damaged my vehicle, and now broken into my house.
Clark shot me a questioning look.
Why do you think he's doing all this?
I found this in my car's ignition this morning with the window smashed.
I said, handing him the folded sticky note out of my pocket. He read it.
Why do you think he wrote this?
We had a conversation a year ago when we were talking about minimum requirements for success and how school made our lives easier because it had consequences. And if we didn't make a minimum effort...
I explained. It looked like the idea went right over the cop's head.
We'll test this for prints too.
I mean, imagine being a cop and you respond to a break-in and he's like,
Yeah.
well, I was talking to this guy about minimum effort. And now he's left me there. It's like, okay.
Alrighty, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the note. You all have a lovely day. They don't pay me enough for this.
Yeah, exactly. Get him the hell out of here.